No problem. Just wait. I'll arrange it for you right away. What do you need? Our Jinghai District Fire Bureau has the most advanced, newly imported man-heavy foam fire truck. Would that work for you? Chapter 318. Coordinates XXX, requesting firepower coverage. Perfect. That would be splendid. Yi Bai rejoiced inwardly. It was as if a pillow had been delivered to him just as he felt drowsy. With an existing top-tier heavy truck chassis as a foundation, he would only need to integrate the core modules of the Dragon King, significantly reducing the difficulty and time required for the modification process. As always, Secretary De Kang's efficiency was astonishing. In less than an hour, a brand new, strikingly red man-heavy fire truck, seemingly fresh off the production line, was escorted into the high-tech factory by the fire chief himself. After bidding farewell to the eager fire chief, Yi Bai immediately immersed himself in the intense modification work. The entire modification process flowed seamlessly. First, he dismantled the original fire cannon and water tank to make space for the new core modules. Next, the incredibly sturdy all-terrain track chassis was perfectly integrated with the man body. Then came the assembly of the most critical weapon system. At the rear of the vehicle, a massive launch matrix resembling a beehive was securely installed. This would serve as the mother hive for the integrated drone system, capable of housing hundreds of small firefighting drones. On the roof, a formidable high-pressure pulse water cannon replaced the original, its muzzle flickering with a dangerous bluish glow. Meanwhile, rows of vertical launch units were cleverly embedded along the sides, loaded with specialized firefighting missiles designed for breach and assault. In less than 2 days, a brand new, awe-inspiring steel behemoth, brimming with a sense of science fiction and destruction, was officially born. It was none other than the Dragon King. Standing before the Dragon King, Yi Bai's eyes sparkled with excitement. This platform's operational radius was sufficient to cover the entire capital. Once in combat readiness, it could launch firefighting missiles loaded with highly effective extinguishing agents from any corner of the city, achieving true, traffic-ignoring, long-range saturation fire coverage. Done. Yi Bai clapped his hands, gazing at the Dragon King, which could only be described as a work of art, a satisfied smile gracing his face. Without hesitation, he retrieved his live-streaming equipment, expertly set up the angle, and faced the poised steel giant, commencing the broadcast. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. After a 2-day hiatus, your favorite Yi God returns with an all-new creation. As the live stream brightened, countless fans who had been eagerly waiting flooded in, and the chat exploded with comments. Wow. It's finally live. Yi God. If you didn't start, I was about to call the police. Front row selling sunflower seeds, peanuts, and mineral water. By the way, what has Yi God up to today? Has the 99A been modified? Wait. Everyone look. What is that behind Yi God? A huge red vehicle. Is it a fire truck? The audience's attention was instantly captivated by the imposing Dragon King. That's right. Yi Bai stepped forward, patting the Dragon King's heavy armor. And with a mysterious smile directed at the camera, he proclaimed, "Today, I present to you this revolutionary product, the Dragon King Multifunctional Urban Rescue Platform. Developed by our Yunxiao technology, which is poised to transform the entire firefighting industry." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Bai controlled the drone camera to showcase the Dragon King from all angles. Behold, this Dragon King is built upon the world's top-tier man-heavy truck chassis and is equipped with our self-developed all-terrain track system. This means that whether on urban roads, rugged mountains, or muddy swamps, nothing can obstruct its path. The camera zoomed in, revealing the broad, robust tracks that gleamed with a cold metallic luster, exuding a sense of power. Wow, tracks on a fire truck? Ye God, are you serious? Is this for battle or firefighting? The design is incredibly hardcore. Now that's what I call a man's romance. Ignoring the audience's astonishment, Yi Bai continued to explain, of course, as a fire truck. The most crucial aspect is its firefighting capability. He pointed toward the menacing-looking cannon atop the vehicle. This is the high-pressure pulse water cannon we have developed. Boasting a range exceeding 500 meters, it can instantaneously launch several tons of water in the form of high-pressure pulses, delivering a force strong enough to extinguish flames on the exterior of high-rise buildings and even penetrate ordinary brick walls. But that is not its most formidable feature. Yi Bai shifted the focus of the camera to the densely packed vertical launching units on both sides of the vehicle. Look here. This is the Dragon King's true trump card. Inside are our latest swarm-style long-range fire-extinguishing missiles. Each missile is equipped with a high-precision guidance system and an efficient dry powder extinguishing warhead. Its operational radius exceeds 50 kilometers, sufficient to cover the entire capital. In the event of a fire in the city, the Dragon King does not need to be mobilized. It can, from its stationary position, launch dozens or even hundreds of fire-extinguishing missiles at the fire scene within mere seconds, executing a saturation strike that ignores traffic congestion. A profound silence enveloped the room. After Yi Bai concluded this feature presentation, the entire live stream, both comments and bullet screens, fell into an eerie stillness for several seconds. Everyone was left utterly stunned. A fire truck launching extinguishing missiles? A saturation strike? What kind of absurdity is this? But just as the atmosphere in the live stream reached its zenith, the roar of an approaching car grew nearer, and a black Hongqi sedan drove directly into the factory yard. The door swung open, and Secretary Dekong, with an expression of excitement and curiosity, quickly descended. Upon seeing the imposing Dragon King, even the well-versed secretary was taken aback, his eyes alight with astonishment. He circled around the Dragon King multiple times, growing increasingly amazed and fond of it. Finally, he grasped Yi Bai's hand, exclaiming, "Comrade Yi Bai? You have once again given me an immense surprise." Chapter 319. Beyond visual range, firefighting Secretary Dekong held Yi Bai's hand tightly, his excitement rendering him somewhat incoherent. As he circled the magnificent Dragon King, his admiration only grew. Meanwhile, following closely behind was Zhao Meng, the director of the Jinghai District Fire Bureau, who was so astounded he could scarcely speak. As a veteran who had toiled on the firefighting frontline for decades, he understood all too well the revolutionary power embodied in this steel behemoth. The high-pressure pulse water cannon, the all-terrain tracks, and especially the extraordinary long-range extinguishing missile system. This was not merely an equipment upgrade. It was a paradigm shift in the firefighting operational framework of the entire city. Director Zhao, what do you think? Secretary Dekong patted Zhao Meng on the shoulder. Secretary, Zhao Meng opened his mouth, his throat dry, his gaze lingering on the Dragon King, his eyes shimmering with a near-religious reverence. Ultimately, all his shock and excitement coalesced into a heartfelt exclamation. With this, our Jinghai District firefighting capabilities, no, the firefighting capabilities of our entire Dragon Nation, will ascend to an entirely new level. This is a monumental invention capable of altering history. Just as Zhao Meng was brimming with excitement, prepared to inquire further about the technical details of the Dragon King from Yi Bai, a piercing alarm suddenly blared from his walkie-talkie. Command Center. Command Center. A large-scale fire has broken out at the Southern Comprehensive Wholesale Market. The flames are spreading rapidly, with multiple shops already ignited. Requesting urgent assistance. Repeat. Requesting urgent assistance. The frantic, almost desperate calls from frontline firefighters echoed through the walkie-talkie. Zhao Meng's expression shifted instantly. The Southern Comprehensive Wholesale Market. It was densely packed with shops and people, and worse yet, it housed a significant quantity of flammable materials like clothing, plastic products, and appliances. If the fire were to spiral out of control, the consequences would be unimaginable. I'm on my way, Zhao Meng bellowed into the walkie-talkie, then immediately turned to Secretary Dekong and Yi Bai, his face etched with urgency and apology. Secretary, Comrade Yi Bai, I sincerely apologize. There's a massive fire 20 kilometers away at the Southern Market, and I must rush over to command. Please excuse me. Meanwhile, 20 kilometers away to the south, towering black smoke clawed at the sky, casting a despairing gray hue over half the heavens. Flames roared from the windows and rooftop of the wholesale market, emitting terrifying crackles and pops. The entire market had transformed into a sea of fire. Countless civilians and shopkeepers fled in panic, their faces smeared with soot and tears, lamenting the loss of their hard-earned livelihoods consumed by the inferno. My store. It's all gone. All gone. Run. There are gas canisters inside. They might explode. Help. Someone save us. Panic and despair spread like a contagion among the crowd. The first batch of firefighters arriving at the scene stood frozen in disbelief at the hellish spectacle before them. The intensity of the flames far exceeded their limits. Towering infernos formed an almost insurmountable wall of fire, and the terrifying heat waves rendered their fire engines unable to approach within effective range. The high-pressure hoses they wielded felt like mere toys against the overwhelming fury of the blaze. As they got close, the water was instantly vaporized, achieving nothing. Captain, this is impossible. The flames are too fierce. We can't get in. The heat radiation is too strong. If we get any closer, the fire truck will melt. Report to command. The internal temperature of the fire scene is excessively high, and structural collapse has been observed. Repeat. Structural collapse has been observed. Requesting instructions. Veteran firefighters, usually undaunted by peril, now wore expressions of helplessness and urgency. They were this city's most courageous defenders, unafraid of death. Yet their greatest fear was to watch lives and property being consumed by disaster while remaining powerless to intervene. Witnessing Zhao Meng's frantic demeanor, Secretary Dekong's expression turned grave. The situation at the southern wholesale market was far more complex and dangerous than anticipated. Comrade Yi Bai, we also. Secretary De Kong began, intending to suggest they both head to assess the situation, but Yi Bai cut him off directly. Secretary, there's no need to go. Yi Bai's voice was remarkably calm, even bearing a trace of composure. What? Secretary De Kong was momentarily taken aback, then his brow furrowed, and his tone grew serious. Comrade Yi Bai, this is not the time for jokes. The fire is merciless, and lives are at stake. You just heard Director Zhao. The situation is extremely severe. In times like this, every bit of help counts. He assumed Yi Bai was reluctant to risk going to the fire scene, feeling somewhat disappointed. Meanwhile, Yi Bai's live stream had already erupted in chaos due to the unexpected outbreak of the fire. Numerous netizens residing in the capital, particularly those in the southern suburbs, have already witnessed the towering black smoke and flames, as various clips and photographs from the scene begin to flood the comment section. Goodness, there's a massive fire. My friend lives in the south of the city and says the blaze is fearsome, turning half the sky red. This is terrifying. The wholesale market is filled with flammable materials. This could spell disaster. Yi Shun, the situation is dire. It's no time for jokes. You must urgently summon the fire chief to the scene. Indeed, saving lives is paramount. The audience in the live stream assumed Yi Bai was jesting, inundating the comments with anxious pleas. Yet, in the face of Secretary De Kang's serious gaze and the scrolling comments, Yi Bai merely smiled nonchalantly. He gestured towards the formidable steel beast beside him, speaking with an unshakable confidence. Secretary, I am not jesting, nor is there a need for me to go there. Do not forget, we have the Dragon King. Upon hearing the words Dragon King from Yi Bai, Secretary De Kong was taken aback. He gazed at the sci-fi-esque steel giant before him, and fleetingly recalled the extraordinary capabilities Yi Bai had just described. The notion of long-range saturation strikes, a concept that seemed absurd and mad, surged forth from the depths of his mind. Yi Bai refrained from elaborating further and instead called out to Director Zhao, who had just walked a short distance. Comrade Yi Bai, I do not have time for lengthy discussions. The situation at the fire scene is extremely critical. I have already requested support from the capital's fire department. Director Zhou from the headquarters is on his way. The urgency in his tone conveyed the severity of the fire, which had reached a point where even he, the branch director, felt utterly powerless, prompting the involvement of the head of the capital's fire department. Director Zhao, do not panic. Yi Bai's voice remained calm as ever. Right now, you need to do just one thing. Provide me with the precise coordinates of the fire. Coordinates? Zhao Meng appeared momentarily bewildered, unable to comprehend why Yi Bai would require the coordinates at such a critical juncture. Comrade Yi Bai, you trust me. After a brief silence, a primal trust in Yi Bai's inscrutable methods overcame Zhao Meng's rational skepticism. Gritting his teeth, he shouted to the communication officer beside him, quick, send the exact coordinates of the fire's epicenter to Comrade Yi Bai. Soon, a string of coordinates precise to 6 decimal places appeared on the Dragon King's fire control computer screen. Coordinates received, Yi Bai stated calmly into the walkie-talkie. He then turned. Amid the mixed expressions of shock, confusion, and anticipation from Secretary De Kong and the millions of viewers in the live stream, and pressed the red button that signified launch. Dragon King, first round of swarm-style remote firefighting missiles, fire, with the command issued. The densely packed vertical launch units on either side of the Dragon King's body sprang open with a swift motion, accompanied by a deep, thunderous roar. Dozens of fire dragons, trailing white tails, surged forth from the launch silos at a steep angle, piercing the heavens. They traced elegant arcs in the sky, forming a vast operational matrix akin to a swarm preparing for battle, racing towards the inferno situated 20 kilometers away in the southern city. In the southern wholesale market, the flames had spiraled completely out of control. The blazing inferno threatened to ignite the entire night sky, while thick smoke obscured the sun. All firefighters had been forced to withdraw to a safe distance of several hundred meters, helplessly watching as the fire demon mercilessly consumed everything in its path. Zhao Meng stood before the temporary command center, gazing at the apocalyptic scene before him, his heart racing, fists clenched tightly, nails digging into his palms. Just as despair engulfed everyone, a series of sharp, distant sounds filled the air. What is that? Someone pointed upwards in terror. Dozens of glowing points, trailing long tails like a meteor shower, descended from the sky, precisely and densely blanketing the core area of the fire. Boom, 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 boom. There were no earth-shattering explosions, only a series of muffled detonations. The firefighting missiles detonated upon contact with the flames, unleashing a deluge of white, highly effective firefighting powder. The scene resembled the detonation of numerous white cloud bombs above the inferno. In just the first round of missile strikes, the once towering inferno was visibly diminished by more than half. Before the onlookers could fully grasp the miraculous scene unfolding before them, the second and third rounds of meteor-like strikes followed in quick succession. Over 100 firefighting missiles, seemingly with a will of their own, executed a thorough saturation bombing of the entire fire scene. The white powder fell like a heavy snowfall, completely engulfing the site. The fire demon, which had been rampaging moments before, was left with no time to even whimper before being utterly suffocated and extinguished. In less than 3 minutes, as the last wisp of black smoke dissipated, the world fell into a profound silence. Zhao Ming stood frozen, mouth agape, staring at what was once a hellscape, now merely a heap of ruins with wisps of white smoke, his mind a blank slate. It's extinguished? Just like that? At that moment, his phone erupted with notifications. It was a call from Director Zhou of the capital's fire department. Simultaneously, Yi Bai's live stream had already reached a fever pitch. Countless netizens near the fire scene were fervently sharing the astonishing missile firefighting footage online. Within mere minutes, terms such as capital missile firefighting and Dragon King delivers swept across major social media platforms, swiftly claiming the top spot on trending lists. In Yi Bai's livestream, the comments flooded in like a torrent, overwhelming the entire screen. Goodness, goodness, goodness. What did I just witness? I just saw a barrage like Katyusha. A miracle. This is truly a miracle. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to extinguish such a massive fire. This efficiency is divine. I'm dying of laughter. I was at the scene, and at first, I thought the missiles were from America. But upon closer inspection, it was firefighting missiles. My worldview shattered in that moment. Previously, thank you for your hard work, firefighters. Now, coordinates XXX, requesting firepower cover. A 10, requesting air support. This is true black technology, transforming lives. Firefighters will no longer need to risk their lives charging into infernos. They can simply press a button from a safe distance. Yi Shun, you are a benefactor to all firefighters' families. The perspective of the commenter above is limited. This is not merely a transformation of life. It's a revolution in warfare. Just imagine, if the powder inside were replaced with high explosives. What a terrifying thought. I'm reporting this. This is genuine. Yi Shun, you are undoubtedly in possession of weapons of mass destruction. They must be surrendered to the state. Oh, wait. It seems the state commissioned him to develop this. So never mind. Across the internet, countless military bloggers, tech influencers, and even official media outlets joined in, sharing the stunning video and embellishing it with immensely exaggerated headlines. Shocking. Our nation's firefighting technology has achieved a groundbreaking breakthrough. Missile firefighting has become a reality. 3 minutes to extinguish a catastrophic fire. Unveiling the enigmatic Dragon King system of the Dragon Kingdom. Secretary De Kong was utterly astonished by the scene before him as he gazed at the now extinguished blaze on the screen, then glanced at the Dragon King beside him, which had just completed an extraordinary long-range strike, his body trembling with excitement. Meanwhile, at the fire scene in the southern part of the city, the recently arrived Director Zhou Weigua of the Capital Fire Department was struck into a prolonged silence as he witnessed this incredible sight, listening to his subordinates' disjointed reports. After a long pause, he lifted his head and gazed far north, his eyes igniting with an unprecedented brilliance. Such a national asset should not be confined to the city. He spoke firmly, his tone imbued with an undeniable resolution. We must equip one in the Taiying Mountains. Constant vigilance is essential to establish an effective deterrent. Let potential sources of fire have no opportunity to emerge. Just as everyone was immersed in shock, a cold prompt from the system echoed in Yi Bai's mind. Arriving as expected. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have earned a shock value reward of 39 million. Chapter 321. Thunder Prison EMT 9 Magnetic Storm Tank. Observing the soaring shock value on the system panel, Yi Bai was filled with ecstatic joy. Over 60 million, plus the newly credited 39 million. His total shock value finally surpassed the remarkable threshold of 100 million. The startup funds for the modification of the 99A main battle tank were finally secured. Just as his excitement peaked, the phone rang again, this time with a voice filled with a hint of enthusiasm from Director Zhao Ming. Comrade Yi Bai, this is Zhao Ming. Our director, Zhou Weigua, wishes to speak with you. Soon, a commanding and authoritative voice came through the intercom. Is this Comrade Yi Bai? Hello. I am Zhou Weigua from the Capital Fire Department. Although Zhou's tone was polite, the aura of someone in a high position resonated clearly through the connection. Comrade Yi Bai, I will not beat around the bush. We at the Capital Fire Department are in dire need of the Dragon King you have developed. Name your price, and we wish to procure it. Zhou Weiguo was straightforward, without any ambiguity. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai's lips curled into a slight smile. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Director Zhou, you're forthright, so I shall be equally candid. Yi Bai extended 5 fingers towards the live camera, as well as to Zhou Weiguo on the other end of the line, calmly stating a figure. 1 unit, 50 million. What? On the other end of the line. Even the composed Zhou Weiguo couldn't help but gasp at the price. 50 million. This was nearly equivalent to the cost of procuring 2 to 3 top-tier imported fire trucks. It was exorbitant. However, as he recalled the miraculous missile fire extinguishing scene, he suddenly felt that this price was, in fact, not excessive at all. 3 minutes to extinguish a fire that could potentially result in losses of hundreds of millions, even risking lives. Such capability is priceless. Moreover, what lies behind this represents a unique and unparalleled black technology, completely ahead of the world. After a moment of silence, Zhou Weiguo's decisive voice resounded again. All right, we accept this price. Let us initially order 3 units. 1 for the core area of the city for combat readiness, 1 for rapid response in the suburban districts, and another to be deployed in the Taihang Mountains as a strategic deterrent for forest fire prevention. I will send someone over immediately to discuss the contract and details. A 50% deposit will be transferred to your company S account within the hour. Listening to Zhou Weiguo's swift and resolute decision, Yi Bai couldn't help but secretly admire him. Truly, the leader of the Capital Bureau possessed a distinct aura of courage and grandeur. 3 units equated to a substantial deal of 150 million. Just the deposit alone amounted to 75 million. After hanging up, Secretary De Kong looked at Yi Bai with a mixture of envy and conflict on his face. He had witnessed the formidable power of the Dragon King and naturally yearned to equip the Jinghai district under his jurisdiction with such a formidable asset. However, the price of 50 million posed a considerable financial strain for a district's budget. He looked at Yi Bai, and finally, with a firm resolve, he made a decision. Comrade Yi Bai? Secretary De Kong grasped Yi Bai's hand, his face etched with pain, yet his eyes radiating determination. We in Jinghai district must also procure a unit. Money is not an issue. Even if it means selling everything we have, we will acquire this Dragon King. Safety is the paramount concern for the people. The deposit shall be the same, 50%. I will instruct the finance department to initiate the transfer immediately. Yi Bai chuckled at Secretary De Kang's resolute demeanor. Indeed, Secretary De Kang was genuinely committing significant resources. Rest assured, Secretary, since you have made the request, I will ensure you receive the best price. Moreover, I promise to prioritize the delivery of Jinghai District's unit at the fastest speed. Receiving Yi Bai's assurance, Secretary De Kang finally relaxed, his face breaking into a satisfied smile. He patted Yi Bai on the shoulder, casting one last glance at the Dragon King, and left with Zhao Meng, content with the outcome. From this day forth, the fire safety of Jinghai District would embark on an entirely new chapter. After bidding farewell to Secretary De Kang and the liaison sent by Director Zhou, the bustling black technology factory, which had been alive with activity all day, finally returned to a tranquil state. Yi Bai turned off the live stream and let out a long breath. This day had been immensely fruitful. Not only had he successfully launched the Dragon King platform and secured a 200 million deal, but more critically, he had finally amassed the astronomical shock value required for the modification of the 99A. He could hardly contain his excitement as he hurried back to the central control room, immersing himself in thought as he opened the system panel. Shock value balance. 100, 150, 000. Gazing at the number that had crossed the 100 million threshold, Yi Bai's eyes sparkled with unprecedented brilliance. Finally enough, he suppressed his overwhelming joy and directed his intense gaze towards the steel behemoth, the 99A main battle tank. Stationed at the center of the factory. System. Initiate modification based on the 99A main battle tank. Deduct shock value of 100 million. Commence modification. Command confirmed. Deducting shock value of 100 million. Commencing sea-level extreme performance modification. As Yi Bai confirmed, a significant portion of his recently replenished shock value balance was instantly depleted. Yet, Yi Bai remained unfazed. For the next moment, the entire super laboratory began operating at an unprecedented, almost frenzied pace. Countless data flows, far more intricate than all previously analyzed vehicles combined, surged into the model of the 99A like a torrent breaking through a dam. The original turret, armor, engine, and all artillery components were thoroughly disassembled, restructured, and elevated through this massive influx of data. This was a genuine transformation, a complete rebirth. Modification plan generated. New codename. Thunder Prison EMT-9 Magnetic Storm Tank. Core Module 1. Directed Energy Impact Main Gun. Upgrades the original 125mm smoothbore gun to a high-energy electromagnetic pulse main gun capable of firing focused directed energy shockwaves to instantly destroy enemy electronic devices and armored structures. Core Module 2. Area Electromagnetic Paralysis EMP System. The vehicle integrates a high-power electromagnetic pulse generator capable of releasing devastating EMP shocks within a 5-kilometer radius, incapacitating all unprotected electronic devices and establishing an absolute electromagnetic silence zone. Core Module 3. Divine Shield Active Protection System. Comprising a 360-degree phased array radar and multi-barrel laser interceptor, this system can autonomously detect and intercept incoming projectiles, missiles, and any high-speed threats, creating an absolute defensive perimeter devoid of blind spots. Chapter 322. This contraption cannot be tested in the Imperial capital. Core Module 4. A miniaturized controllable fusion reactor. Providing the entire tank with an almost limitless and overwhelming energy source, liberating it entirely from reliance on conventional fossil fuels. Upon seeing this fourth module, Yibai felt his breath momentarily hitch. Controllable nuclear fusion. This is heralded as the holy grail of ultimate energy for human civilization. The system has remarkably miniaturized it and integrated it into a tank. This signifies that this Thunder Prison tank will possess a true heart of the sun. However, this is not the end. Core Module 5, a multi-mode attack system. Air Mode, Spear of Divine Punishment. Utilizing the ultra-high energy output from the fusion core, it instantaneously ionizes a significant volume of argon gas, forming a super high-density plasma beam that is projected to an altitude of 3,000 meters, detonating into a vast spherical lightning bolt with a diameter of 200 meters. It is sufficient to cleanse the airspace of all enemy aircraft. Ground Mode, Seismic Tremor. It injects low-frequency electromagnetic pulses generated by the fusion core, 53 Hz, deep underground through a specialized device, inducing a controllable artificial earthquake of magnitude 4.9 on the Richter scale. This inflicts devastating damage on enemy underground fortifications and clustered units. Human Mode, Neural Whip. It releases specific frequency millimeter waves that precisely stimulate the pain receptors of target organisms, provoking intense, uncontrollable spasms throughout their bodies. While classified as a non-lethal weapon, it is ample enough to incapacitate any adversary in an instant. Gazing at this series of astonishing, even somewhat ruthless attack modes, Yibai felt his scalp tingle. This is no longer merely a tank. It is undeniably a divine entity traversing the earth, wielding thunder and earthquake, spherical lightning, artificial earthquakes, neuroelectric shocks. Each of these technologies, taken individually, could upend the existing paradigm of warfare. Yet now, they are flawlessly integrated into this war machine named Thunder Prison. Yibai harbored no doubts that when this true king of land warfare appears on the battlefield, it will instill endless terror and despair in the hearts of its enemies. Akin to hell itself. Emerging from the super laboratory with his mind racing, Yibai gazed at the 99A that stood quietly before him, his eyes shimmering with unprecedented excitement. The blueprints had transformed into reality. The next step was to truly summon this war deity commanding thunder and lightning into this world. Commence assembly. With a single command, the entire Black Technology factory resumed its high-speed operation. Armed with the experience from previous modifications and familiarity with the factory facilities, this assembly process felt even more intuitive. Countless components, custom-made from top suppliers across the nation through military channels, surged into the factory like a tide. High-strength nano-ceramic composite armor, superconducting electromagnetic coils, precision phased array radar arrays, and the most crucial element, a miniaturized fusion reactor crafted by Yibai himself using existing facilities and some provided technology. Akin to a work of art, the original body of the 99A was entirely dismantled, retaining only the most fundamental load-bearing structure. Under the precise and efficient operation of numerous mechanical arms, these modules, representing the pinnacle of technological achievement, were meticulously installed onto the new chassis. The turret, streamlined and imbued with a futuristic sci-fi aesthetic, replaced the original angular design. The robust 125mm smoothbore cannon was substituted with a more elongated directed energy main gun, its muzzle flickering with an ethereal blue arc. The surface of the vehicle was enveloped in a layer of shimmering metallic-hued nano-ceramic composite armor, seemingly alive with breath, integrated with dense arrays of active protection system launch units. The entire modification process resembled a precise surgical operation. In just 5 days, a brand new, imposing war machine, exuding a sense of destruction and oppression, was officially born. It stood silently in the center of the factory, its entirety cloaked in a profound, storm cloud-like dark gray. The vehicle's lines conveyed immense power, each detail exuding a terrifying aura capable of instilling fear in any adversary. It was the Thunder Prison. Yi Bai gazed contentedly at his masterpiece and then picked up the encrypted satellite phone, dialing the number for General Lan Guangji. General Lan, I have fulfilled your request. The upgraded version of the 99A has been successfully modified. On the other end of the line, General Lan Guangji, attending a meeting at the Eastern Theater Command Center, was momentarily stunned upon hearing these words. What? He instinctively leapt to his feet, incredulity flooding his voice. Completed? So soon. From the moment Yi Bai received the order until now, scarcely a week had passed. In such a brief period, not even a simple repainting or maintenance of a tank could be accomplished, let alone a full modification. After a fleeting moment of shock, a wave of immense, uncontrollable joy surged within him. He knew Yi Bai never jested. When he claimed completion, it was undoubtedly true. Excellent, 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 General Lan exclaimed thrice, nearly dropping the phone in his excitement. Lieutenant Yi, wait for me. I'm on my way. He didn't even have time to explain to the other generals in the meeting room before dashing out and boarding his private plane to the imperial capital. Hours later, when General Lan Guangji hastily arrived at the Black Technology Factory and beheld the transformed Thunder Prison tank, even this seasoned and formidable general was utterly taken aback. He stood stupefied before the war machine, radiating an aura of terrifying oppression, mouth agape, eyes wide with astonishment. Is this the 99A? He reached out, trembling as he caressed the cold, powerful armor of Thunder Prison, feeling the faint, heartbeat-like rumble emanating from within the vehicle. Lieutenant Yi, General Lan turned to Yi Bai, his eyes filled with genuine admiration. You can no longer be referred to as a genius. You are a true devil, a devil capable of turning fantasy into reality. Yi Bai smiled, accustomed to General Lan's praise. He patted the tracks of Thunder Prison and straightforwardly asked, General Lan, you have seen the exterior. Now, shall we find a location to test its actual performance? After all, it must be taken out for a proper trial. Upon hearing the word test, the excitement on General Lan's face intensified, but he quickly composed himself, his expression shifting. Testing? Yes, we must test it. However, absolutely not in the imperial capital. Chapter 323. Off to the Eastern Theater. General Lan Guangji glanced at the main gun of Thunder Prison, flickering with dangerous arcs of electricity, and said with trepidation, Are you joking? Testing this thing in the imperial capital? If it accidentally discharges, even just a single shot, any mishap would be catastrophic. Who could bear the responsibility for that? Hearing General Lan's apprehensive words, Yi Bai chuckled awkwardly. He nearly forgot that this was indeed the imperial capital. It was one thing to create a spherical lightning bolt with the spear of divine punishment, or to trigger an artificial earthquake with seismic tremor. Even merely activating the EMP system would likely render all electronic devices within a radius of several dozen kilometers inoperative, and that would spell trouble. Where shall we test it then? Yi Bai inquired. Follow me. General Lan Guangji retrieved his encrypted phone and swiftly dialed a number. Hello, it's me. Summon a heavy transport trailer. Yes, the same coordinates as last time. Highest confidentiality level. Hurry. The order was given, and the military's efficiency was astonishingly high. In less than half an hour, a formidable military heavy-duty trailer, bearing the Eastern Theater Command's insignia, silently entered the high-tech factory, with the assistance of several soldiers. The Ray Prison magnetic storm tank was gradually driven onto the trailer. Subsequently, several layers of heavy, specially coated canvas were securely draped over the tank, completely concealing it. From the outside, only a massive, indistinct silhouette was visible. Departure. With everything prepared, at a command from Lan Guangji, the convoy quietly left the factory under the escort of several military off-road vehicles, merging into the flow of traffic. However, despite the utmost confidentiality measures, in this age of advanced networking, achieving complete discretion was nearly impossible. Shortly after this seemingly extraordinary convoy departed the high-tech factory, it was captured by some sharp-eyed netizens. Brothers, look, encountered a mysterious military convoy on the highway. The trailer in the middle is enormous. What new treasure is this? Look at the license plate. It's from the Eastern Theater Command. Wow. What new black technology has the Eastern Theater Command acquired from Lord Yi? It's so tightly covered that not even a silhouette can be discerned. It must be a big guy. Last time, Lord Ye's live broadcast of the 99A was not this mysterious. Lord Ye isn't live streaming, nor has there been any response. This matter is definitely not simple. Let us make a wild guess. Could it be a Gundam? Relevant videos and photos quickly began to circulate online. Countless netizens and military enthusiasts were fervently speculating what formidable weapon the Eastern Theater Command had acquired from Yi Bai that could potentially alter the course of battle. Yet, regardless of external conjectures, Yi Bai offered no response. After a day and night of arduous travel, the convoy finally arrived at its destination, the core frontline base of the Eastern Theater Command. The moment Yi Bai stepped out of the vehicle and set foot on this land, a chilling atmosphere enveloped him. He was utterly taken aback by the scene before him. As far as the eye could see, the entire base resembled an immense war fortress. Rows of camouflage-painted barracks stood in meticulous order. On the airfield, menacingly designed fighter jets, armed with live ammunition, quietly awaited in the hangars, ready to roar into the sky and tear through the heavens. In the distance, colossal radar antennas silently rotated, vigilantly monitoring every subtle movement miles away. The air was infused with a faint scent of gunpowder and engine oil. Though he had previously witnessed grand displays of thousands of troops clashing during military exercises, exercises were merely simulations. No matter how realistic, they could not compare to the genuine state of readiness that lay before him, poised for action. There were no spectators, no referees, only warriors alert and prepared for battle, alongside weapons thirsty for blood. The overwhelming sense of impending pressure and the powerful atmosphere left Yi Bai's spirit profoundly shaken. Lan Guangji, observing Yi Bai's astonished demeanor, wore a proud smile. How do you find it, Major Yi? This is our Eastern Theater Command. With the arrival of Yi Bai and Lan Guangji, the heavy trailer carrying the Ray Prison magnetic storm tank also slowly entered a secret testing ground designated for heavy equipment. Under heavy guard, as the heavy canvas was gradually lifted, revealing the Ray Prison tank for the first time to the soldiers of the Eastern Theater Command, the entire testing ground fell into a profound silence. Everyone was thoroughly astonished by its imposing and futuristic design. Just then, an elderly man dressed in military attire, bearing 3 golden stars on his shoulders and exuding an aura of authority, strode over, flanked by several other generals. Upon seeing the newcomer, Lan Guangji's expression turned serious, and he immediately stepped forward to salute. Commander. Yi Bai's heart jolted, instantly recognizing the identity of the visitor, the commander of the Eastern Theater Command, Lei Zhan. Greetings, Commander Lei. Yi Bai quickly approached, respectfully greeting him. Commander Lei laughed heartily, extending his hand for a firm handshake with Yi Bai. We, the old-timers, have seen and remembered your contributions to our nation and military. Following Commander Lei, other generals stepped forward enthusiastically to greet Yi Bai. Hello, Major Yi. I am the commander of the 121 Heavy Armored Combined Brigade. Major Yi, it's an honor. I am from the 305 Amphibious Assault Brigade. Major Yi, I am from the 774 Air Defense Brigade. These generals, who typically commanded vast armies and could shake the ground with a stomp, now looked at Yi Bai as if he were a rare gem. Their gazes towards the Ray Prison tank were unabashedly greedy, akin to a pack of hungry wolves eyeing the most succulent piece of meat. Lan Guangji, noticing the situation, immediately stepped forward, spreading his arms wide as if to protect a chick, standing between the Ray Prison tank and the group of generals, his expression alert. Hey, what are you all doing? Let me make it clear. This treasure has been pre-ordered by our brigade. It is I, Lan Guangji, who personally requested it from Major Yi. Don't think about picking the fruit. What do you mean it's your brigade's pre-order? Good things naturally belong to those capable of utilizing them. The commander of the 121 Brigade expressed his displeasure. Exactly. Little Lan, you can have the meat. But let us at least have a sip of the soup. The commander of the 305 Brigade joined in the chorus. As the generals were on the verge of a quarrel over the yet-to-be-tested tank, Commander Lei's expression darkened instantly. Everyone, be quiet. His furious shout silenced the entire testing ground. What kind of behavior is this? You're all generals, yet you're acting like shrewish women at a market. Are you trying to make Major Yi laugh? Commander Lei glared at them with disappointment, speaking sternly. If word of this got out and reached the Southern Theater Command, wouldn't we be the laughingstock? Upon hearing the phrase Southern Theater Command, Yi Bai felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him. He had nearly forgotten that, organizationally speaking, he still held the title of Major in the Southern Theater Command, thus technically still being one of them. This scene indeed resembled a family bringing dowry to show off, only to have the in-laws squabbling over it. Commander Lei noticed Yi Bai's awkward expression, cleared his throat to ease the atmosphere, and then waved his hand, saying in a deep voice, "All right, enough of the bickering. Let's see what this is all about." The The quality of goods cannot be judged by mere words. Relay my orders. Prepare the shooting range. All testing items must adhere to the highest combat standards. Today, let us all witness the true strength of the Eastern Theater Command's future. With Commander Lay's command, the vast military testing ground immediately sprang into action. Several kilometers away, a variety of target types were rapidly erected. From traditional tank armor targets to simulated underground fortifications, even including several decommissioned fighter jets dragged to designated positions as target drones. Under the operation of one of the Eastern Theater Command's top ace tank drivers, the Ray Prison Magnetic Storm tank slowly entered the center of the testing area. The first test, mobility, a low, deep hum, distinctly different from traditional tank engines, resonated as the massive body of the Ray Prison tank sprang to life. With no hint of delay, the formidable behemoth surged across the intricate testing grounds at a breathtaking velocity, defying its immense stature. Whether navigating the serpentine S-curves, conquering steep ascents, or soaring over treacherous ditches, the Leviathan executed each maneuver with an elegance that made it seem as if it were gliding over flat terrain. Report. The maximum speed has surpassed 120 kilometers per hour. The average off-road speed is 85 kilometers. Is this truly a heavy main battle tank? Inside the observation room, the technician responsible for data recording gazed at the rapidly ascending figures, his voice piercingly sharp from sheer astonishment. All the generals present gasped in unison. The conventional Type 99A has a maximum road speed of merely 80 kilometers, yet this Leviathan has elevated that figure by an astonishing 50%. Commenced the conventional weapon resistance test. As the command was issued, a Type 99A tank positioned at a distance turned its turret, aiming at the stationary Leviathan, and boldly fired. Boom. A 125mm armor-piercing round, trailing a lethal path, struck the front armor of the Leviathan with precision. However, a jaw-dropping spectacle unfolded. Just as the shell was about to make contact with the armor, several laser emission units on the surface of the Leviathan suddenly illuminated. Beams of laser, nearly imperceptible to the naked eye, deftly intercepted the shell's trajectory. Boom. The menacing armor-piercing round was detonated mid-air. Meanwhile, the Leviathan's armor remained utterly unscathed. The active protection system performed flawlessly. The generals in the observation room were rendered speechless. If the previous mobility had merely astonished them, this seemingly impenetrable active defense system instilled a profound sense of dread. Now, the warm-up is complete. Yi Bai, observing the astonished faces around him, chuckled as he picked up the communicator. Next, it is time to reveal the true power of the Leviathan. Target, aerial target drone. Prepare the Spear of Divine Retribution. As the command was given, the elongated directed energy main cannon of the Leviathan slowly lifted. Arcs of cerulean electricity began to dance wildly at the muzzle, gathering. A wave of terrifying energy surged outward. Fire. Zing. There was no thunderous sound of a shell being fired, only a piercing electric crack that seemed capable of rending souls. A beam of ionized argon plasma, more radiant than the sun, erupted from the cannon, piercing through 3,000 meters into the sky. Moments later, the beam exploded in midair. A colossal spherical lightning bolt materialized. Instantly, the entire sky was bathed in an ethereal blue hue. There was no explosion, no flames. When the spherical lightning made contact with the drone, it was vaporized and disintegrated as if it had been thrown into a steel mill, leaving not a trace of debris behind, vanishing from sight. Silence. The world seemed to have been pressed on pause. In the observation room, all the generals, as if frozen in time, stared blankly at the screen displaying an empty expanse, their minds blank. Is this a tank? Blue Guangxi trembled with excitement, as if envisioning a future battlefield where, upon an enemy aerial assault, a multitude of ground artillery would not fire shells, but unleash cataclysmic spherical lightning. What a spectacular and despairing sight that would be. But fret not, this is merely an appetizer. Yi Bai's voice resonated once more. Next, let us test ground attack capabilities. Target, the fifth target area ahead, simulating an enemy information warfare cluster. The fifth target area is the most challenging segment of this test. It not only features the Type 99 as a target, but also includes the top-secret Type 99B experimental vehicle and the Type 100 unmanned tanks and support vehicles, forming a complete network of information warfare capable of coordinating against conventional armored forces that outnumber them. Initiate electromagnetic paralysis. An invisible electromagnetic pulse surged outward from the Leviathan, enveloping the entire target area in an instant. In that moment, all target vehicles within the area, Whether Type 99 or the more advanced Type 99B and Type 100 unmanned tanks had their electronic devices, fire control systems, and communication modules utterly fried by the EMP shockwave. The entire information warfare cluster was instantly reduced to a heap of immobile scrap metal. Absolute power renders all flashy information warfare tactics utterly impotent. The military leaders were left utterly astounded. Their mouths agape, they gazed at the Leviathan, which, merely by standing still, had incapacitated an entire armored cluster. Their eyes filled with boundless shock. Incredible. This transcends mere disparities in weaponry. This is a godlike dimensional strike upon mortals. Even our own indomitable steel pales in comparison to this marvel. How could foes who extol the virtue of steel withstand its might? Chapter 325, The 300 Million Deal. Commander Lay fixed his gaze intently on the Leviathan, which emanated an overwhelming aura even while stationary, and after a prolonged moment of silence, managed to utter a few words. This is no longer a weapon. Xiaolon, what are you still waiting for? Commander Lay's voice, though not loud, startled all the generals into alertness. Strike while the iron is hot. Quickly, let us place another order with Major Yi. We absolutely cannot let this divine entity escape. Yes, yes. The commander of the 121st Brigade slapped his thigh, urgency overtaking him. The commander is right. Lan, hurry. Our Eastern Theater's resurgence hinges on you. Precisely. If Major Yi leaves here empty-handed today, you, Blue Guangxi, will be branded a traitor to the Eastern Theater. The commander of the 305th Brigade joined in, his gaze towards Yi by reflecting an obsession that transcended mere admiration. A group of generals, typically commanding legions and capable of shaking the very earth with a stomp, now cast aside all pretense and clamored, fearing that if they delayed even a second longer, this golden egg-laying phoenix would fly off to another theater. Surrounded by the eager throng, Blue Guangxi felt immense pressure, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He certainly wanted to place an order. It was a dream. But the question remained, what order to place? On land, with the presence of this Leviathan electromagnetic tank, he could hardly fathom any ground unit that could pose a threat to it. A new type of tank? That would be redundant. His mind raced, scanning the virtual battlefield map frantically. The ground has been utterly dominated. So yes, the skies. Blue Guangxi suddenly turned, hurriedly approaching Yi Bai, his voice trembling slightly. Major Yi, we have the tank. But what about the armed helicopters? Our Eastern Theater's Wuji 10. Can you modify it? At this, the observation room fell silent once more. All the generals' gazes converging on Yi Bai with palpable anticipation. Yi Bai, taken aback, paused momentarily. Wuji 10? The aerial gunship, the treetop assassin. He was certainly familiar with it. Major General Lan, how do you envision modifying it? What specific requirements do you have? Yi Bai inquired. Requirements? Blue Guangxi took a deep breath, enunciating each word with gravity. I have but one requirement. I need it to establish an overwhelming firepower advantage against enemy ground forces on future battlefields. The term overwhelming he emphasized with great weight. Upon hearing this request, Yi Bai's brow furrowed slightly. To be honest, enhancing the firepower of the WZ-10 with the capabilities of the system was a task of remarkable ease. Replacing it with an electromagnetic cannon, equipping it with laser weaponry, or simply mounting a few small cloud explosive bombs. These were all easily achievable and would sufficiently establish a firepower advantage. However, the weight of the term overwhelming was altogether different. Much like the previously mentioned Thunder Prison tank, its superiority over traditional armored clusters was indeed overwhelming. Once the EMP was activated, one would find oneself immobilized, with the fire control systems rendered inoperative, transforming the machine into a mere heap of scrap metal. How could one possibly engage in combat under such circumstances? To enable an armed helicopter to exert a similar level of dominance over ground forces meant that all individual anti-air missiles, portable air defense systems, and even field anti-aircraft artillery on the ground would need to become nothing more than sticks of firewood in its presence. The difficulty of such an endeavor was extraordinary. Noticing the fleeting expression of distress on Yi Bai's face, Lan Guangxi's heart leapt to his throat. He feared that his request was excessive, and that even Yi Bai found it daunting. Resolutely, he steeled himself and laid his trump card on the table. Major Yi, if you are willing to accept this contract. Lan Guangxi extended 3 fingers, his voice hoarse with excitement. Our Eastern Theater Command will provide 300 million. Boom. 300 million. Upon hearing this figure, Yi Bai's heart raced. Difficulty? What challenge could not be surmounted in the face of 300 million? Is overwhelming superiority truly difficult? That is only a matter of funds. With the right financial backing, not only could I secure overwhelming strength, but I could also orchestrate a divine strike. Without a moment's hesitation, he nodded decisively at the anxious and expectant Lan Guangji. I shall accept this order. Upon returning to the high-tech factory located in the suburbs of the capital, Yi Bai exhaled deeply. After all, he was about to engage in serious military endeavors. Having spent an extended period away, he found himself somewhat unaccustomed to the environment. After regaining his composure, Yi Bai resumed his examination of the system. The first thing that caught his eye was the shadow drone. A pale blue stream of data flowed slowly into an exceedingly complex model filled with unknown structures. Shadow drone. Reverse analysis progress. 30. Yi Bai estimated that once the analysis was complete, it would require an astronomical amount of shock value to transform it into reality. Preparation was essential. He must begin accumulating shock value in advance. While the modification order for the WZ-10 was substantial, it was ultimately a military project with a high level of confidentiality, making it impossible to conduct live broadcasts for mass collection as before. Thus, he needed to embark on a new project aimed at the public, one that focused on independent research and development. What should it be? Leaning back in his chair in the central control room, his fingers absent-mindedly tapped the desktop as his gaze swept across the various technological advancements displayed on the virtual screen. Suddenly, his eyes settled on an unassuming corner, the field of new energy. Today, new energy electric vehicles had become a prevailing trend. Yet the most significant pain point in their promotion remained fundamentally unresolved: charging stations. Slow charging, insufficient station availability, traditional vehicles occupying spaces, and incompatible interfaces. Various issues plagued the user experience and severely restricted the further explosion of the electric vehicle market. This was it. A spark of brilliance ignited in Yi Bai's eyes. He was determined to develop an entirely new electric vehicle charging station, capable of revolutionizing the existing market landscape. This endeavor would not only serve to harvest shock value, but also pave the way for his future commercial empire. Once his charging station technology became the industry standard and spread across the nation, it would equate to possessing a unique energy network that encompassed the entire country when his own electric vehicle brand was launched. As Yi Bai envisioned the grand blueprint for his commercial ambitions, the control room door was gently pushed open, revealing a somewhat weary figure. It was Sun Ling. What's wrong? Yi Bai looked up and was taken aback by her appearance. Her once vibrant face was now pale and devoid of color. Her usually bright and clear eyes were dull, even reflecting a hint of uncontainable grievance. Yi Bai's heart sank instantly as he stood up and approached her with concern. What happened? Why do you look so distressed? Chapter 326. What? The family went bankrupt. Sun Ling remained silent, biting her lower lip as she silently handed over her phone. The screen displayed a bank transfer message and a WeChat message. Yi Bai took the phone, his gaze fixed on the screen as his pupils constricted. XX Bank. Your account received a transfer of 500,000,000 yuan on October 11th at 15:32. From Lin Shushua. Below the transfer record was a WeChat message from his mother, Lin Shushua. Xiaoling, Annie knows you are a good child. Take this money, whether to return home or to buy a small apartment in the capital and start your new life. You and Yi Bai are not suited for each other, so don't follow him anymore. Yi Bai's mind went blank in an instant, a wave of incredulity washing over him. What was happening? Was his mother trying to use money to persuade Sun Ling to leave him? How could this be possible? He was more aware than anyone that ever since their heartfelt conversation at the Yunxiao auto repair shop, his mother had treated Sun Ling with more affection than her own son, referring to her as a good daughter-in-law and wishing for them to marry soon so that she could hold a grandchild. How could she suddenly act in a manner reminiscent of a villainous mother-in-law from a drama? Brother, Sun Ling's voice was tinged with tears, her eyes reddening in an instant. Does Annie hate me? Have I done something wrong? Don't think like that. Yi Bai quickly snapped back to reality, embracing Sun Ling and gently patting her back to soothe her. There must be a misunderstanding. My mom is not that kind of person. Saying this, he immediately took out his phone and, without a second thought, dialed his mother Lin Shushua's number. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered, and on the other end came his mother's usual gentle voice, though Yi Bai could detect an unusual weariness in her tone. Hello, Xiaobai. Mom. Yi Bai cut to the chase, his voice serious. You transferred 5 million to Sun Ling to make her leave me. What is going on? There was a moment of silence on the other end. Xiaobai, you've grown up. There are some things that I cannot decide for you. But I must remind you, Lin Shushua's voice conveyed no discernible emotion. You and Sun Ling are not suited for each other. You now regard her as a younger sister. Treating her well is actually harming her. Let her take the money, find an ordinary person, and lead a stable life. That is the best choice for her. These words only deepened Yi Bai's confusion. Not suited? Didn't Ti Yu used to urge us daily to have a grandchild? Why is it suddenly not suitable? What on earth is going on? It's nothing. Lin Shushue's tone was unyielding. In any case, this matter is settled. Also, you'd better stay in the capital. Focus on your studies and pursue your research. Don't come back for this year's holidays. Why? Yi Bai was utterly astonished. She was forbidding him from returning home? What was this all about? He wanted to inquire further, but all that came through the line was a busy tone. His mother had hung up on him without hesitation. Listening to the busy signal echoing from the phone, Yi Bai stood frozen, his mind in utter disarray. Everything felt like a tangled mess that he could not comprehend. After calming Sun Ling down for a while, he finally convinced her to rest. Alone in the empty control room, the more Yi Bai thought about it, the more he felt something was amiss. Suddenly, a figure flashed through his mind, Su Ning. Without hesitation, Yi Bai dialed Su Ning's number and recounted everything that had just transpired in detail. On the other end of the line, Su Ning listened quietly, refraining from interrupting him. It was only after Yi Bai finished speaking that she responded, Yi Bai, do not rush. Such a sudden and illogical shift in attitude usually suggests one of two possibilities. Either an insurmountable external threat has arisen, or a significant life-altering event has occurred. Your mother has instructed you not to return home, and has specifically emphasized your stay in the capital. This seems more like a protective measure. She is deliberately creating a physical separation between you and your hometown, as well as the troubles she is currently facing. Thus, the root of the issue likely does not lie with you and Sun Ling, but rather within your family. My family. Yi Bai furrowed his brow. Indeed. Su Ning's tone grew serious. May I ask, perhaps rather boldly, about your family's financial situation? Specifically, what do your parents do? Yi Bai had never shied away from this question. My father is Yi Nantian, and my mother is Lin Shushue. They are business people who have established a company in Huadu called Yi Group. Its scale should be fairly substantial. Yi Group. Su Ning softly repeated the name before a flurry of keyboard clicks resounded from her end. A few moments later, her voice returned. Yi Bai, it would be wise for you to investigate this online yourself. Before Su Ning's words had fully registered, Yi Bai had already opened his computer, his fingers dancing across the keyboard as he entered the 4 characters of Yi Group. The moment he pressed the enter key, a plethora of news links flooded his screen. Shocking. The billion-dollar giant Yi Group from Huadu is mired in a debt crisis, potentially facing bankruptcy. Yi Group exposed with $3 billion in debt default. Breaking. Yi Nantian and Lin Shushue have been listed as dishonest executors, with their assets frozen. Yi Bai's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the words on the screen. Each character was familiar, yet together they formed a reality that felt utterly foreign to him. $3.3 billion. Debt default. Bankruptcy. Dishonest executor. No wonder his mother forbade him from returning home, even refusing to utter a single word. She did not want to be burdened by this astronomical debt. He needed to secure funds. As swiftly as possible, he needed to amass a significant amount of money. Merely developing charging stations would not suffice. Their profit cycle was too lengthy and, fundamentally, they were merely a means for others to benefit. To mobilize the largest scale of funds in the shortest time, he must launch a truly unique terminal product that could ignite the market. His gaze returned to the technological spectrum of new energy vehicles. Since he aimed to establish a charging network, why not also develop electric vehicles concurrently? A bold idea began to take shape in his mind. Not only would he create charging stations, but he would also, based on them, cultivate a brand of electric vehicles that truly belonged to him. System. Initiate the new electric vehicle project for independent research and development. As he issued this mental command, the second phase super laboratory in his mind sprang into action. An avalanche of data streams concerning battery technology, motor control, intelligent driving, and aerodynamics began to swirl around a brand new virtual model, fervently constructing and simulating it. Chapter 327, Thunderous Electric Vehicle, Crushing Everything. Ultimately, a virtual model emerged within the second phase super laboratory. Thunder Eye Concept Car, Core Module 1, Graphene-based solid-state battery pack. In the market, whether it be the so-called technological pioneer Tesla or a host of domestic newcomers, the maximum range they could achieve is generally capped at a bottleneck of 600 to 700 kilometers. However, the graphene-based solid-state battery utilized by Thunder boasts an energy density over 3 times that of conventional ternary lithium batteries, with safety features increasing geometrically. This translates into a staggering range of 1,500 kilometers. This means, departing from the capital, one could drive straight to the Magic City without needing to recharge. Core Module 2, Axial Flux Hub Motor. Traditional electric vehicles, no matter how optimized, cannot escape the complexities of central motors, drive shafts, and differentials, leading to inevitable energy loss during transmission. Thunder adopts a more radical independent hub motor solution, integrating powerful axial flux motors directly into the wheels. This results in true all-wheel drive and zero-loss power output, with a combined peak power exceeding 2,000 horsepower, yielding a breathtaking acceleration of 0 to 100 kilometers in just 18 seconds. While other performance cars revel in breaking the 2-second barrier, Thunder has already left them far behind. Core Module 3. Integrated die-cast body with intelligent liquid metal armor. Safety is paramount for Yibai. Thunder employs military-grade supersized die-casting machines to create the entire body in one go, eliminating the safety hazards associated with hundreds of welding points in traditional vehicles. More critically, in key locations such as the A-pillar, B-pillar, and door impact beams, innovative intelligent liquid metal technology, inspired by the goddess of the night, has been ingeniously integrated. During regular driving, it remains flexible, not affecting the driving experience. However, once the onboard radar predicts an impending collision, these metals instantaneously harden within milliseconds, providing defense comparable to tank armor. The most disheartening aspect for all competitors is the cost. Through meticulous optimization of the production process, this future beast, which embodies range, performance, and safety, has its manufacturing cost firmly capped at 150,000 Dragon Kingdom currency. For the price of an ordinary family car, one could obtain a vehicle that surpasses million-dollar supercars in performance, outlasting all competitors in range, and boasting safety akin to armored vehicles. This is no longer merely selling cars. It is a brutal reshaping of the entire automotive industry. Yibai gazed at this remarkably flawless plan, his heart ablaze with ambition. If this vehicle could be mass-produced, not only could he easily repay the trifling 3 billion debt, but even if it were 30 billion, he could do so with ease. However, mere blueprints were insufficient. Bridging the gap between design and production required navigating a substantial divide composed of supply chains, production lines, qualifications, and market channels. To traverse it swiftly, he needed a formidable ally, and that ally, without a doubt, was Jiang Chumo. The monumental success of the chopped chili fish head Mini had already demonstrated her astonishing talent and prowess in the automotive sector. Yibai picked up his phone and directly dialed that familiar number. On the other end of the line, Jiang Chumo's voice, as always, carried a hint of languor and allure. Yet, now it was tinged with a newfound competence, as she had certainly achieved considerable success in her career. Her influence within the family had also grown increasingly significant. "Hello, Bossy, what brings you here today? I thought you had found a new love and forgotten about this old acquaintance of mine. I have a substantial business matter I wish to discuss with you." Yibai, disinterested in banter, spoke directly. "A brand new electric vehicle project that could alter automotive history. Are you interested?" There was silence on the line. Moments later, Jiang Chumo's voice returned, laced with intrigue. "Considering how effortlessly you handled the remarkable chopped chili fish head, I wonder what you have in store now that you are so serious. This must be something significant if you, young Master Yi, are employing the term change history. Coincidentally, I am also in the capital inspecting factory construction. So, where shall we meet?" Yibai pondered briefly and provided a location. At the Peiping Hotel, Lingyan Pavilion. As night fell and the lights began to illuminate the surroundings, Yibai arrived at the Peiping Hotel, only to discover that Jiang Chumo had already been waiting inside. Today, she donned a meticulously tailored black Chanel business suit, accentuating her already alluring figure to perfection. Her signature cascading waves of hair fell casually over her shoulders, while beneath an exquisite makeup, her crimson lips burned like fire. In the flicker of her gaze, she embodied both the formidable aura of a business queen and an irresistible mature charm. It had been but a few months since we last met, yet her presence seemed to have grown even more commanding. With the phenomenal success of her chopped chili fish head product, she had ascended to the ranks of the most sought-after newcomers in the domestic electric vehicle sector, every move she made drawing the industry's keen attention. "Our esteemed scientist, Yi, has finally arrived. I had been eagerly awaiting this moment." Jiang Chumo reclined against the armchair, delicately lifted the blue and white porcelain teacup before her, and took a gentle sip. Her grace contrasted by a hint of playful reproach in her words. This rascal, after indulging himself, suddenly remembers the business at hand. Can one not recall their responsibilities when in a light-hearted mood? Traffic was dreadful, Yibai replied as he settled across from her, his gaze landing on her with genuine admiration. "Congratulations, General Jiang. The chopped chili fish head is now a sensation across the land. Even my classmates are getting in on it." However, upon hearing Yibai's congratulations, Jiang Chumo's radiant face revealed no trace of joy. Instead, she let out a self-deprecating chuckle and placed her teacup heavily on the table. Congratulations? What is there to celebrate? She raised her eyes. Her beautiful phoenix-like gaze now filled with an unmistakable weariness. I can hardly muster a smile. Leaning forward, she rested her hands crossed on the table, fixing her gaze on Yi Bai, enunciating each word with gravity. Do you know? Just last week, our chopped chili fish had officially launched in the European and North American markets. And then, Yi Bai raised an eyebrow, questioning the relevance of this news to the present situation. And then, Jiang Chumo scoffed. On the very first day of our launch, we received investigation letters from the Anti-Monopoly Committee and the American Department of Commerce. The reason? Our product allegedly engaged in malicious price dumping, severely disrupting their market order. Consequently, we were subjected to a barrage of unfounded safety and environmental inspections, culminating in a staggering fine. Jiang Chumo extended her slender fingers before Yi Bai, emphasizing her words. 50 billion. A staggering sum. This fine exceeds our total sales in the overseas market during this period. She continued, her voice tinged with an uncontainable fury. Moreover, the tens of billions we invested to establish a local factory have been frozen and seized under various pretexts. Even Jiang Chumo, a seasoned woman of great strength, could not suppress the anger in her voice. This is no longer mere commercial competition. This is a blatant act of thuggery backed by state power. It is a precise strangulation of our emerging high-tech industries by the Western world. They cannot bear to see our enterprises gain ground on their territory. So they strip away the guise of a free market and resort to the most despicable and shameless tactics, flipping the table directly. To them, the so-called free market means, here, I set the rules, so the market is free for me. If I wish for your demise, then you must perish. After listening to Jiang Chumo's account, a glimmer of icy resolve crossed Yi Bai's eyes. What justification do they offer for a $50 billion fine? Surely, they must provide a grand rationale? He inquired calmly. Justification? Jiang Chumo laughed, as if hearing the most ludicrous joke. They have an abundance of reasons. One moment, they claim our battery technology failed to meet their high safety standards. The next, they assert our production process does not comply with their environmental regulations. They have even slandered our onboard system, accusing it of having backdoors for data theft. In short, when they wish to fabricate a charge, they find no shortage of excuses. She drained her now lukewarm tea and forcibly suppressed her rising anger. Lack of qualifications? In essence, it is merely those bloated politicians, viewing us as outsiders without a sufficiently powerful background, who wish to collude with Wall Street capital to take a hefty bite out of us. They proclaim free trade while brandishing the stick of sanctions. This hypocrisy is utterly revolting. A brief silence enveloped the room. Yi Bai regarded Jiang Chumo thoughtfully, quickly grasping the implications. The Jiang family's enterprise is a hallmark of the Dragon Nation, and the new energy sector represents a battleground against the West. Reminiscent of the mobile phone market of yore. The foul nature of Western tactics had been vividly displayed then, and now, having failed to stifle their competition, they resorted to extortion. After a long moment of contemplation, Yi Bai spoke slowly. Would you like to reclaim everything lost, with interest? Jiang Chumo suddenly lifted her head, her eyes fixated on Yi Bai as if seeking something from his expression. Of course, I dream of it, she exclaimed through clenched teeth. I not only want to recover the money, I yearn to witness their flustered expressions, knowing they are powerless against us. Very well, Yi Bai nodded, leaning slightly forward, his gaze intense. I have a groundbreaking electric vehicle project. You provide the production qualifications, the supply chain, and the factory. We collaborate to establish a new company and build a factory anew. I have already conceived a name for this new vehicle, Thundermotion. Thundermotion? Jiang Chumo mused over the name, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. Yi Bai continued without elaboration. I need you to mobilize all resources to construct the production line around the capital as swiftly as possible. I will handle the technology, product, and core competitiveness. I assure you, the moment Thundermotion debuts, whether it be Tesla or those so-called century-old European brands, all their products will be rendered akin to inconsequential industrial refuse before Thundermotion. Yi Bai spoke with unwavering confidence, for Western industry, in essence, was merely living off the legacy of colonial hegemony. While there was some technology to speak of, the core, the truly competitive elements, were few and far between, especially from the state of Ohio. Though America had seen industrial outsourcing, it still retained some high-end technology, particularly in chips. However, Ohio was another story altogether. Not to mention that the current situation favored Jiang Chumo's enterprise in the automotive sector. The prospect of Thundermotion was poised to dominate. Jiang Chimo was struck by Yi Bai's formidable confidence. She did not even inquire about the revolutionary technology behind this so-called thunder motion, nor did she calculate the required investment. All she knew was that this man never spoke empty words. If he claimed he could alter the course of history, he undoubtedly could. Their previous collaboration on the chopped chili fish head project had already filled her coffers, allowing her to witness firsthand Yi Bai's extraordinary technological prowess. Now, this man sought to personally spearhead a new brand, an opportunity that any ambitious entrepreneur would find irresistible. All right, I accept. Without a moment's hesitation, Jiang Chimo nodded decisively. This left Yi Bai somewhat taken aback. So readily? You won't even ask about specific technical parameters or the investment required. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chimo suddenly laughed, and the oppressive gloom that had lingered for the entire evening seemed to vanish in an instant. With a captivating glance at Yi Bai, Jiang Chimo languidly leaned back against her chair, exuding a renewed confidence that suggested she was in command of everything around her. What are you waiting for? She inquired, extending her delicate fingers to gently tap in Yi Bai's direction, her lips parting slightly, exhaling with grace. You, Yi Bai, are the undeniable emblem of our nation's technological prowess, a treasure that even the military cherishes. Is it necessary to scrutinize the project proposal to collaborate with you? It's a guaranteed deal that only a fool would overlook. As she shifted her tone, her eyes became strikingly earnest. My forte lies in transforming blueprints into profit. As long as you can provide the overwhelming technology, I can handle the rest: factory establishment, production, marketing, and all the arduous tasks that accompany it. It's a deal. Yi Bai responded with a smile. He then extended his hand, retrieving a small, USB-like encrypted data stick from his pocket, placing it gently on the table before Jiang Chimo. All the core technological data of the thunder motion is contained within this. For a look, you can open it on your computer if you have one. Chapter 329, A Game-Changing Electric Vehicle. Gazing at the encrypted USB stick on the table, Jiang Chimo's breath momentarily faltered. This tiny device held not merely technical data, but the potential to unleash a tidal wave that would revolutionize the entire automotive industry, a future capable of instilling trepidation in every automotive giant worldwide. As a successful entrepreneur, she understood the magnitude of what lay before her. However, she refrained from reaching for it immediately. While Jiang Chimo was not versed in the intricate technical parameters or the profound design schematics, she possessed a keen understanding of people. That was sufficient. I trust you, she said with a radiant smile, elegantly extending her hand to gently secure the data stick within her handbag. Technical matters are beyond my expertise, but I am confident that what you present will astonish the world. Now let us discuss the practicalities. Instantly, Jiang Chimo's gaze shifted back to that of a decisive CEO. Establishing a factory requires land, approvals, and a substantial workforce. Although the market in the capital is vast, the cost of land is exorbitant, and the approval processes are cumbersome. Starting from scratch, it would take at least 6 months before a production line could be operational. Yi Bai nodded, acknowledging that he had considered these challenges. Jiang Chimo continued. However, the situation in Huadu is entirely different. That is my stronghold. We have ready-made factories, the most skilled workers, and a complete supply chain. The production line for our signature dish can be easily modified to serve Thunder Motion immediately. My suggestion is to run dual operations. The R&D center and initial production line should be established in Huadu. By utilizing our existing resources, we can swiftly manufacture the first batch of Thunder Motion prototypes and complete all necessary testing and adjustments. Simultaneously, we will commence the site selection and construction of a new factory in the capital. Once the production model in Huadu is operational and all technical challenges resolved, the new factory in the capital will be nearing completion. At that point, we can seamlessly replicate the mature production line, activating both northern and southern production bases concurrently, maximizing our output. Upon launch, we will flood the market with an abundance of products. One cannot deny that Jiang Chimo's business acumen and strategic foresight are indeed exceptional. This dual-track approach of R&D in the south and production in the north is undoubtedly the optimal solution to minimize the time before Thunder Motion hits the market. Maximizing profit potential. Agreed. We shall proceed as you propose, Yi Bai replied without hesitation. In Huadu, I need you to immediately assemble the top-tier engineering team to fully cooperate and ensure that the first Thunder Motion prototype is produced within 1 month. A month? Jiang Chimo gasped in disbelief. To create a prototype from scratch for an entirely new platform in just 1 month is a fantasy for any traditional automaker. Indeed, a month. Yi Bai's tone brooked no argument. He needed funds and aimed to eradicate this astronomical debt as swiftly as possible. There was no time to wait. Observing the determination in Yi Bai's eyes, Jiang Chumo suppressed all her doubts. Very well, 1 month it shall be. I will fly back to Huadu and personally oversee the operations. Even if I must ensure every engineer is bound to the production line. I guarantee you will see a functioning Thunder Motion within a month. The two exchanged knowing smiles, understanding everything without further words. Jiang Chumo's decisiveness was formidable. The day after finalizing their collaboration, she boarded the earliest flight back to Huadu. Without a moment's pause, she summoned all the core executives of the Spicy Fish Head Mini Project for a high-level closed-door meeting. In the conference room, the atmosphere was grave. Chief scientist and head of the mini-series, Zhou Yanjun, sat upright. A man in his 50s with graying hair but a spirited demeanor. He had dedicated his life to automotive research, possessing an almost obsessive pursuit of technology. Opposite him sat the company's marketing director, Qian Hao, a shrewd businessman in his 40s, adorned with gold-rimmed glasses. Without superfluous words, Jiang Chumo placed the encrypted data stick at the center of the conference table. Old Zhou, this contains all the core technical data for a groundbreaking electric vehicle project. I need you to immediately set aside all current tasks and lead your top team to replicate it. Zhou Yanjun furrowed his brow, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Yet he complied and connected the data stick to his encrypted laptop. As the vast and intricate design schematics and technical parameters of Thunder Motion cascaded onto the screen, the room fell into a stunned silence. Moments later, Zhou Yanjun's breathing quickened. He abruptly stood, leaning over the table, nearly pressing himself against the screen. The once cloudy eyes now gleamed with youthful fervor, his lips murmuring in disbelief. Impossible. This cannot be real. A graphene-based solid-state battery? Energy density exceeding 800 Wh/kg? Is this within the realm of current technology? And this axial flux hub motor? The power density is astonishing. As a premier expert who had immersed himself in the automotive industry for decades, Zhou Yanjun understood better than anyone the monumental technological revolution these seemingly simple data points and terms represented, especially the groundbreaking battery technology. Jiang, if this data is authentic, he exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement, we will no longer need to fret over range anxiety. 1,000 kilometers. No, conservatively speaking, 1,500 kilometers of range will be effortlessly achievable. Moreover, look here. He pointed at the battery structure diagram, his face flushed with exhilaration. The solid-state electrolyte fundamentally eliminates the risk of thermal runaway. This means our vehicle, even when subjected to severe impact, will never ignite or explode. The safety is unparalleled. What's more, Zhou Yanjun's thoughts raced. Due to the significant reduction in battery size and weight, we can save considerable space and costs in our chassis design. Chapter 330. Letting you grow wildly and quickly go public? Zhou Yanjun spoke with increasing enthusiasm. We can allocate all the cost savings to the vehicle's body frame. Utilizing the highest strength of hot-formed steel and the most solid materials, we can forge it into an impenetrable mobile fortress. However, just as Zhou Yanjun reveled in this groundbreaking technology, the marketing director, Qian Hao, timely doused his excitement with cold water. Old Zhou, I appreciate your enthusiasm. Yet, from a marketing perspective, your proposal is nothing short of a disaster. What do you mean? Zhou Yanjun looked at him in confusion. Qian Hao leisurely stood up, walked to the whiteboard, and wrote 2 words, replacement. What we sell is a consumer product. He tapped the whiteboard. What is the core logic of consumer goods? It is the constant cycle of updates and replacements, stimulating consumers' desire to purchase anew. If you make the vehicle's body frame indestructible, lasting for 10 or 20 years without damage, I ask you, when we launch a new model 3 years later, why would old users want to change vehicles? Just for a new exterior or interior? The vast majority would not. He turned around, his gaze sweeping over everyone present. Have you ever thought about why toothbrush advertisements always remind you to replace them every 3 months? Is it because they become unusable after 3 months? No. It is to ensure continuous consumption. Why did previous induction cookers and rice cookers last so long, while today as small appliances frequently break down? That is called planned obsolescence. It is deliberately designed by manufacturers. The aim is to compel you to buy new ones when the old ones fail. We are in business, not charity. Building vehicles that are too good and too durable is cutting off our own financial lifeline. Zhou Yanjun was left speechless by this line of reasoning. He opened his mouth to retort, but found himself at a loss for words. At that moment, Jiang Chumo, who had been silent, spoke up. All right, enough arguing. She stood up, her gaze sweeping over the two who were in heated debate. What you both say has merit, but these are not the most pressing issues at hand. She approached the conference table, leaning forward with her hands resting on it. her powerful presence instantly enveloping the entire meeting room. The success of the chopped chili fish head dish had bestowed upon her sufficient confidence and authority. What I need now is a result. Given our company's current financial strength, it is impossible to independently complete the research and development and production of Thunder. We need external investment and to attract more partners. I give you 3 days. So, you are responsible for organizing this technical information into an attractive technical advantage report that even outsiders can understand. Director Qian, you will formulate the most perfect investment attraction plan based on this report. In 3 days, I want to see results. Do you understand? As Jiang Chumo decisively laid out her strategy for the Thunder project in Huadu, far away in the capital, Yi Bai was still struggling to breathe under the enormous debt of $3.3 billion. Although Thunder electric vehicle was his greatest asset, from research and development to mass production and sales returns, it would take at least several months. The distant water could not quench his immediate thirst. He needed to find other sources of funding to alleviate the urgent crisis. Seated in the control room of the high-tech factory, his brow furrowed, and his mind raced as he calculated which of his assets could be quickly liquidated. The military orders, though substantial, had a lengthy approval process, making it difficult to receive funds in a short time. The dividends from the chopped chili fish head dish were stable, yet merely a drop in the bucket for filling such a vast hole. Just as he was at a loss, an email from Huadu appeared on his computer screen. The subject read, October Work Report of the 100 Tons King Group. Yi Bai paused for a moment, recalling that under Secretary de Kang's arrangement, he had indeed taken over such a massive group controlling the heavy truck transportation lifeline of 6 southern provinces. However, as he engaged with increasingly high-end projects in the capital, he had nearly forgotten about this side venture. To stabilize the group's operations quickly, he had selected 20 promising talents from the truck drivers' friends and relatives, providing each with 500,000 as startup funds and letting them pursue their respective projects while he became a hands-off manager. Now, after such a long time, he wondered whether the 1 million he had invested had gone to waste or blossomed into something remarkable. With a tinge of curiosity, Yi Bai opened the work report. The screen quickly filled with dense text and data tables. However, when he saw the summary financial data at the bottom of the report, he was instantly stunned. Yi Bai rubbed his eyes, thinking he must have misread. Without hesitation, he promptly instructed the group, an online meeting will be held tomorrow at 10 o'clock. All project leaders must attend punctually. The next morning, in the central control room of the high-tech factory, a massive projection screen displayed 20 video windows of varying sizes. Neatly arranged, each window featured a distinct face. Yi Bai's gaze swept over them. A few left a deep impression on him. One was named Lu Jiangwo. He was formerly a senior logistics consultant for a Fortune 500 company, tricked into coming by his truck driver father for a mere 1,000 yuan. He was responsible for optimizing the group's overall transportation network. Another was named Zhou Yi. He was a top programmer in the country, previously responsible for algorithm development at a major internet company, brought in by his cousin to develop the group's digital dispatch platform. Then there was a woman named Wang Li, a former elite analyst from a renowned domestic investment bank, and the only one of this group to proactively submit her resume. She astutely recognized the enormous potential behind the 100 Tons King Group, volunteering to oversee the group's capital operations and new business development. These individuals were undoubtedly top talents in their respective fields. Yet, at the outset, none of them anticipated that this seemingly frivolous new boss would indeed possess such remarkable decisiveness, readily investing real money to allow them to pursue their endeavors freely. At this moment, as they gazed at the youthful yet commanding figure in the center of the screen, their eyes reflected admiration, gratitude, and a hint of fervor. It was this young man who had provided them with an unprecedented stage to showcase their talents, and they, in turn, returned this recognition with an astonishing performance. Chapter 331, 500,000 unlocks 76 small goals. Good morning, President Yi. As the meeting commenced, the 20 executives on screen rose in unison, respectfully greeting Yi Bai. The synchronized gesture and heartfelt respect took Yi Bai by surprise. Please, take your seats. Yi Bai raised his hand, signaling for everyone to relax. I gathered you all today primarily to hear your work reports. I have been a hands-off manager for some time, and I wish to see what you have accomplished with the 50,000 I entrusted to each of you. No sooner had he finished speaking than a sharply dressed man with a buzz cut stood up first. I am Sun Jiqiang, previously engaged in bulk commodity trade, and I am responsible for the group's fuel procurement and cost control project. However, instead of reporting achievements, he wore a face full of grievance. President Yi, you finally remembered us, Sun Jiqiang exclaimed, his expression filled with distress. I shall refrain from discussing other matters for the moment. I simply wish to express a suggestion. The initial funding you provided was truly insufficient. As soon as these words escaped, a chorus of agreement resonated throughout the conference room. Yi Bai, taken aback, inquired with genuine curiosity, "Oh, is 500,000 truly inadequate?" "Indeed it is," Sun Jiqiang exclaimed, thumping his thigh in excitement. "You have no idea how volatile international crude oil prices were at that time. With your 500,000, I identified several once-in-a-lifetime low points. But the funds were too meager to capitalize on any substantial positions. I could only watch helplessly as opportunities slipped away." He extended 3 fingers, his face etched with pain. "If you had granted me an additional 500,000, totaling 1 million, I would not merely have doubled or tripled my returns. I can assure you, at the very least, it would have been that much." "How much do you currently have?" Yi Bai asked, intrigued. Sun Jiqiang cleared his throat and, with a hint of pride, disclosed a figure. "Excluding the fuel reserves of the group itself, the pure profit I generated from trading with that 500,000 in the futures market amounts to 30 million. Wow. Even Yi Bai, accustomed to the tumultuous currents of business, could not suppress a gasp upon hearing this figure. 500,000 in principal had yielded 30 million in profit within a mere few months. The return on investment was an astonishing 60-fold. However, before Yi Bai could fully digest this shock, another video window featuring Zhou Yi adjusted his glasses and spoke leisurely. "Old son, your paltry profits from trading are hardly worthy of boasting. Your perspective is rather narrow." Sun Jiqiang immediately bristled. "Hey, I fought tooth and nail to seize opportunities from the international capital markets. How can you deem my perspective narrow?" Zhou Yi ignored him and turned his gaze to Yi Bai, calmly stating, "Yi, with the 50,000 you provided, I assembled a team specializing in autonomous driving algorithms. Utilizing the vast road testing data from the 100-ton King Group, we have developed an L4-level autonomous driving solution for heavy trucks. This solution has already completed preliminary testing and," he paused, dropping a bombshell. "Moreover, several domestic and international automotive and logistics giants have expressed strong interest in acquiring our technology. The highest offer stands at a valuation of 500 million. Boom. If Sun Jiqiang's 30 million had merely surprised Yi Bai, this 500 million struck him like a bolt from the blue, leaving him utterly speechless. 500,000 had transformed into 500 million. Before Zhou Yi could finish his statement, Wang Li elegantly smiled, her soft voice immediately capturing everyone's attention. "Indeed, Zhou's technology points towards the future, and the 500 million valuation is well-deserved. However, in the realm of industrial investment, returns are still rather slow. Upon receiving the 50,000 in startup capital, I did not rush to invest in tangible operations. Instead, I wagered 30,000 on a relatively obscure cryptocurrency 14 days ago." And then, Yi Bai's heart raced involuntarily. Wang Li's crimson lips curved into a captivating smile. "Then, over the past 14 days, that cryptocurrency surged by more than 1,000 times. I turned 30,000 into 3 billion. The conference room fell into a stunned silence. Everyone was rendered speechless by this staggering figure. 3 billion in 14 days. What does that even mean? An average gain of over 20 million per day? But Wang Li's tale was far from over. "After securing my initial fortune, I immediately liquidated my holdings and diversified the capital into technology stocks in the US market, commodity futures, and equity in several promising startups." She gazed at Yi Bai, whose expression was now utterly dazed, and smiled as she delivered her final summary. "As of this morning's market close, the total assets in the project fund I managed have exceeded 7.6 billion. Stop. Just as the attendees were still reeling from the shock of Wang Li's exceptional capital maneuvers and prepared to continue their comparisons, Yi Bai finally emerged from the haze of those astonishing figures and decisively intervened. He surveyed the various faces on the screen, each reflecting excitement, pride, or calmness, and a knowing smile crept across his lips. "Your abilities to generate wealth have indeed opened my eyes. However, talk without action is mere pretense. I am not one for stories. I only believe in evidence." Leaning slightly forward, Yi Bai's gaze scrutinized each video window. "Now, I require each of you to share the detailed reports of your respective projects, the flow of funds, and any third-party documentation that can substantiate your claims. I wish to see for myself the veracity of your assertions." "Absolutely, Yi." Sun Jiqiang was the first to respond, swiftly projecting the delivery slips and bank statements from his futures account onto the central screen. The clear buy and sell points, along with the final profit figure of 30 million, were laid out in black and white, presenting irrefutable evidence. Next, Zhou Yi shared his screen, displaying a formal investment intent letter from the prestigious investment bank Goldman Sachs. At the bottom of the document, The valuation of $500 million and the terms of acquisition were distinctly marked, accompanied by the handwritten signature of the project manager from Goldman Sachs. Wang Li, with a graceful smile, casually shared a link. It led to a globally recognized, authoritative third-party asset custody platform's query page. After Yi Bai input the authorization code provided by Wang Li, an independent account detail was vividly displayed for all to see. Total account assets, 76,318,000,000. Below, a dense list of holdings unfolded. From the skyrocketing cryptocurrency to soaring U.S. tech giants and robust commodity futures, each investment was meticulously timed, showcasing an unparalleled acuity that made Yi Bai's eyelids twitch with astonishment. This was no mere investment. It was akin to wielding a divine perspective to gather wealth. The evidence was increasingly compelling. The achievements were increasingly extraordinary. As Yi Bai gazed upon the screen displaying results capable of leaving any Fortune 500 CEO speechless, he felt not shock, but an overwhelming surge of indescribable elation. The individuals he had initially lured with a meager investment of 10,000 were each genuine, top-tier talents capable of stirring the winds of change in their respective fields. Yet, the most astonishing revelation was still to come. When Liu Jianguo, responsible for the group's overall strategic planning, projected his report, a colossal title immediately seized Yi Bai's undivided attention. Feasibility plan for promoting the listing of 100-ton King Group on Nasdaq. Yi Bai opened the document and was utterly astounded by its contents after only a brief glance. This plan encompassed everything from the group's business restructuring, equity structure design, and financial model establishment to roadshow planning and engagement with major investment banks. All the necessary steps for listing were meticulously outlined. Even more astonishingly, in the attachments of this plan, Yi Bai discovered several A-round investment agreements issued by internationally renowned venture capital firms. At the conclusion of the proposal, Liu Jianguo boldly noted, "Currently, the group's preparations for the IPO have smoothly entered the B-round financing negotiation phase. All preparations are expected to be completed within 3 months, with an official application for listing on Nasdaq to follow." Yi Bai was utterly stunned. The nominal chairman, burdened by a staggering debt of $3 billion, was unaware that his subordinates had quietly maneuvered the company towards an initial public offering. The momentum appeared remarkably favorable, a testament to their exceptional talent. Yi Bai leaned back in his chair, exhaling deeply as the weight of his concerns dissipated in the presence of his extraordinary team. Financial worries had ceased to be a pressing issue. Gradually rising from his seat, Yi Bai's gaze swept across the 20 poised elites on the screen, awaiting his final judgment. "Excellent," he spoke softly, yet his voice resonated clearly in every ear present. "Your achievements have far surpassed my expectations. I once promised to allocate 50% of the group's profits to you all annually. However, it seems that promise was rather modest." Pausing, he unveiled a decision that took everyone by surprise. "Effective immediately, for the projects you each oversee, your teams shall retain 70% of the profits generated, with the remaining 30% reverting to the group." An uproar ensued in the virtual conference room upon hearing this distribution plan. 70-30 split, and the team would receive 70%. What did this signify? In any organization, even among founding partners, such an exaggerated share was unheard of. This was no mere employee incentive. It was a clear acknowledgement of their status as true partners, perhaps even more generously treated than actual partners. "President Yi, this is too much." Wang Li was the first to speak up, her face a mask of astonishment. "Indeed, President Yi, we are merely employees. How can we take so much? This defies convention." Zhou Yi echoed, shaking his head in disbelief. Yet, Yi Bai calmly raised a hand, silencing the ensuing dialogue. "This is what you deserve. Yi Bai, assess talent solely on capability, not on grandiose promises. You have created value for the company and thus deserve the largest share of the returns." The room fell silent, and genuine emotion surfaced on every face, a profound sense of gratitude. Yi Bai then shifted his tone to one of unprecedented seriousness. "However, before I fulfill this promise, I must confess something. Many of you may already be aware that my family business, the Yi Group, recently declared bankruptcy, leaving me with an enormous debt. Therefore, I require money, a substantial amount." Observing the increasingly grave expressions on their faces, he presented 2 options. "Now, I offer you a choice. First, if you are willing to stay and help me generate profits to navigate this crisis, the profit-sharing ratio can be raised to 80-20. Your teams would receive 80%, while I would only take 20. Furthermore, I will not restrict your investment avenues. You may leverage the group's resources to pursue your ambitions. Second, if you prefer not to partake in my personal debt crisis, I fully understand. You may take your earned profits at the 70% ratio, and I will additionally subsidize 10% of the total project profits as a token of gratitude. We can part ways amicably. With that, Yibai sat back, awaiting their decisions. This choice represented immense risk for everyone involved. On one side lay immediate wealth to pocket, while on the other was the uncertainty of supporting a bankrupt leader through an unknown abyss. However, contrary to his expectations, hesitation did not permeate the meeting room. Lu Jiangwo was the first to smile. Rising, he bowed deeply to Yi Bai on the screen. President Yi, you underestimate us. We have long been aware of the situation regarding the Yi Group. We have never considered leaving. Rather, we have been waiting for you to speak. We understand that enhancing a situation is never as valuable as providing support in times of need. As his words settled, Sun Jiqiang stood up excitedly. Exactly, President Yi. When we faced despair, you provided us with a stage to showcase our talents. If we were to simply walk away now that you are in trouble, would that still make us human? President Yi, you need not say more. We will not touch a single cent of the money we've earned. It will all remain in the company account, available for your use at any time. We believe that with your capability, this debt is trivial. Once the group flourishes, you will surely not neglect the brothers who endured hardships alongside you. Yes, we won't leave. All funds remain with the company. We trust you, President Yi. Chapter 333, The Prelude to a Great Era. In an instant, the atmosphere surged with fervor. On the screen, the 20 elites, powerful in their respective fields, resembled a band of impassioned youths, eagerly expressing their loyalty. Finally, Wang Li stood up gradually. President Yi, perhaps you have not realized that what you have given us is far more than the 500,000 in startup capital. It is an experience we have never known. Here, we need not fear the whims of a boss, engage in office politics, or worry about our contributions being appropriated by superiors. We live with dignity. We are no longer mere tools in the hands of a boss or replaceable cogs in a machine. You have bestowed upon us absolute trust, pure respect, and sincere support devoid of ulterior motives. Therefore, please trust us as well. We are willing to accompany you in your resurgence. Listening to the heartfelt declarations resonating from the screen, Yi Bai felt an indescribable warmth swell within him. He had never anticipated that a seemingly trivial gesture would garner such unwavering loyalty. Observing the flushed faces of those 20 individuals, their eyes shining with unfeigned trust, he couldn't help but smile wryly. He had been so engrossed in developing cutting-edge technologies that he had not realized he had inadvertently illuminated a hidden talent for leadership. Yi Bai slowly rose and solemnly bowed deeply to all his subordinates on the screen. Thank you. In the end, a myriad of sentiments distilled into these two simple yet profound words. Straightening up, Yi Bai's gaze encompassed everyone. Since you are willing to walk this path with me, I, Yi Bai, shall not disappoint you. I know that for individuals of your caliber, money may merely be a number. You lack for nothing, no luxurious homes, no extravagant cars, nor the means to indulge. Thus, what I can offer you is not these mundane possessions. Yi Bai's words instantly piqued everyone's curiosity. Not money. Then what will you provide? Equity, perhaps? Yet they had just expressed their willingness to reinvest all their earnings into the company, indifferent to immediate gains or losses. In the midst of their ponderings, Yi Bai confidently articulated a promise that could ignite the world. I promise that, with our collective efforts, if the market value of the 100 Tons King Group surpasses 1 trillion and ascends to become the world's foremost enterprise, each of you will no longer suffer from ailments. I can even extend your lifespans. Boom. If the previous promises of billions in profits merely thrilled them, Yi Bai's current vow struck at the very core of their souls. The conference room fell into a profound silence. On the screen, 20 formidable titans of the business world stood transfixed, as if ensnared by an unseen spell. Their minds blank and their expressions vacant. Health, longevity. For the average person, these words may simply evoke pleasant wishes. Yet, for those who have ascended to the pinnacle of the wealth pyramid, these are the ultimate pursuits, the priceless holy grail. They can effortlessly procure the most luxurious material indulgences with their riches, but they cannot purchase a healthy body. They wield the power of capital to shift markets and alter countless destinies, yet they remain powerless against the inexorable march of aging and the passage of time. Throughout history, from the emperors of ancient dynasties to contemporary billionaires, who does not yearn to forever relish the empire they have built? Who does not long to escape the fate of birth, aging, illness, and death? Now, this seemingly unattainable dream, once confined to myth and legend, has been casually promised to them by Yi Bai as a reward. If uttered by another, they would dismiss it as mere fantasy, the ramblings of a madman. But the speaker is Yi Bai, a man capable of transforming dreams into reality, a figure so revered that even the military is captivated by him. Since he has voiced this promise, it must surely be within his power. Mr. Yi, is this truly the case? Sun Jiqiang's voice trembled with overwhelming excitement. Mr. Yi, $1 trillion market value? No, that is insufficient. We must achieve 10 trillion. We must be the global leader. Zhou Yi's face flushed with fervor. Wang Li's eyes sparkled with a fervor 1,000 times more intense than the prospect of 1,000-fold return from virtual currency. Mr. Yi, rest assured, from this day forth, we shall all dedicate ourselves wholeheartedly. For you, and for ourselves, we shall usher in an unprecedented great era. Their aspirations now transcended the trappings of wealth, status, and fame. Elevated to a new dimension that could drive anyone to madness, the pursuit of surpassing the limits of life itself. Yi Bai gazed at the faces on the screen, illuminated with excitement and longing, and felt a surge of emotion. From this moment on, these 20 business prodigies were irrevocably tied to his chariot. Health and longevity. This was the ultimate vision he had painted for them, the only promise he could offer that transcended monetary value. After the meeting concluded, the financial statements and funding requests were promptly presented before Yi Bai. Under Wang Li's orchestration, the group's available liquid assets reached a staggering sum that even left Yi Bai astounded, 2 billion. This was after accounting for the group's daily operations and ongoing project investments. A pure reserve that could be mobilized. With unhesitating resolve, Yi Bai signed the fund allocation form and issued directives. Effective immediately, 1 billion would be allocated from the Group S account as project incentive bonuses, to be distributed by each project leader based on team contributions. The remaining billion would be transferred to a designated personal account as initial funding for the Thunder Electric project. The swift allocation of such a substantial bonus, without a flicker of hesitation, deeply moved the executives who had just pledged their loyalty to him, igniting their fervor for work. With the urgent financial concerns resolved, Yi Bai's spirit soared. He entrusted the affairs of the 100 Tons King Group to Liu Jiangwo and Wang Li, redirecting his focus entirely to the development of advanced technologies. At that moment, the system's cold notification chime resonated. Chapter 334. The Tianshu Superconducting Energy Storage Charging Pile. Ding. The independently developed project has been completed. Congratulations, host, on successfully developing a new urban energy facility, the Tianshu Superconducting Energy Storage Charging Pile. It is done. Yi Bai's eyes gleamed with excitement as he immediately called up the detailed design and module parameters of this innovative charging pile. Everything was in place. All that remained was a flawless launch event to maximize the impact of this product and harvest immense shock value. How could the live broadcast be orchestrated to maximize the shock value? Leaning back in his chair, Yi Bai's fingers lightly tapped the desk as his mind raced. Simple product introductions would no longer satisfy the increasingly discerning audience. Something more direct, more audacious, and strikingly comparative was required. A bold and provocative idea began to take form in his mind. He would orchestrate an unprecedented mass vehicle evaluation. With this thought, he promptly summoned Sun Ling, who had just shaken off her despondent mood. Xiaoling, assist me with the task. Brother, what do you need? Sun Ling stood attentively, her eyes still slightly red, but her spirit markedly improved. Yi Bai handed her a list, a mysterious smile gracing his face. Please help me order a batch of vehicles according to this list. Sun Ling took the list and, upon glancing at it, was utterly astounded. The paper was densely packed with the names of dozens of vehicle models, encompassing nearly all mainstream new energy electric cars on the market. Brother, why are you buying so many electric cars? Sun Ling's mouth fell open in disbelief. Is it for experiments, to dismantle and study? To her, only this rationale could explain such a frenzied purchasing spree. Research? Yi Bai chuckled and shook his head. No, not research. I intend to use them to stage the grandest foundation ceremony for my new product. Although Sun Ling did not fully grasp the implications of Yi Bai's words, her unconditional trust in him compelled her to nod vigorously. All right, brother. I will take care of it immediately. Watching her retreating figure, Yi Bai's smile broadened. He could already envision the scene when dozens of electric vehicles, representing the pinnacle of contemporary automotive engineering, would be lined up like offerings in his factory, awaiting the unveiling of his new technology, and the world would erupt in madness. As Sun Ling ventured forth with the audacious purchase list, stirring waves across the capital's numerous car dealerships, a cryptic email from Huadu simultaneously arrived in Yi Bai's inbox. The sender was Jiang Chimo. The attachment contained a meticulously crafted investment proposal for the Thunder Electric project, prepared by Zhou Yanjun and Qian Hao over 3 intense days. Yi Bai opened the proposal and quickly skimmed through it. It was evident that Qian Hao was indeed a marketing maestro. The entire proposal was exquisitely crafted. Every slide in the PPT was imbued with persuasion and allure. It skillfully sidestepped overly complex technical details, instead showcasing Thunder's core advantages: 1,500 kilometers of range, 18-second acceleration, military-grade safety, in the most direct and striking visuals and data. The proposal concluded with a grand vision. Once Thunder emerged, it would completely disrupt the current automotive market landscape, establishing itself as the new absolute leader in a trillion-dollar arena. Any institution investing now would reap returns 100-fold or even 1,000-fold. This proposal possessed a compelling allure for any discerning investor. However, after perusing it, Yi Bai merely smiled faintly, dragging the proposal, one that could incite frenzy throughout the capital sphere, into the recycling bin. He then dialed Jiang Chimo for a video call. On the other end of the screen, Jiang Chimo appeared to have just concluded a meeting, slightly fatigued as she rubbed her temples. However, upon seeing Yi Bai's incoming call, her eyes instantly sparkled with vitality. "How goes it, Mr. Yi? Surely the proposals from my two subordinates have captured your interest?" she inquired with a hint of pride. "I have reached out to several top-tier investment institutions in the country, all of whom have expressed immense enthusiasm for our project. Once you give your approval, we can commence the roadshow." "The proposals are commendable," Yi Bai affirmed initially, but then swiftly shifted his tone. "However, a roadshow is unnecessary." "Why?" Jiang Chimo was taken aback. "Because the new company we are collaborating with requires no external investment." Jiang Chimo was utterly bewildered upon hearing this. "No investment? Yi Bai, you must be jesting. Do you have any idea how much it costs to establish a brand new, modern electric vehicle production line from scratch? It is not something that can be accomplished with just a few tens of millions, or even 100 million, without an investment of several billion. We won't even make a sound." "I am aware," Yi Bai nodded. "Thus, I have prepared the initial funding." He then sent Jiang Chimo a screenshot of the bank certificate for the 10 billion yuan recently transferred from the 100 Tons King Group. As she gazed at the string of dazzling zeros in the screenshot, even Jiang Chimo, accustomed to large sums, felt a jolt of surprise. However, after the shock subsided, she shook her head in resignation. 10 billion is indeed a substantial amount, but for our objectives, it is merely a drop in the bucket. It would only scratch the surface. I understand that relying solely on this 10 billion is insufficient for vehicle manufacturing, Yi Bai replied, a hint of a mysterious smile gracing his face. But what if we utilize this capital to venture into the business of charging stations? Do you believe that would suffice? Charging stations? Jiang Chimo's brow furrowed deeper. The return on investment for such things is far too long, and the technology currently available in the market is largely homogeneous, lacking any significant barriers. Before she could finish her thought, Yi Bai interrupted, sending over another document detailing a recently developed technology. Superconducting energy storage charging station. Instinctively, Jiang Chimo opened the file. Yet, after only a brief glance, her expression transformed from confusion to astonishment, then to sheer shock, ultimately culminating in an overwhelming joy. Superconducting energy storage? A peak charging power of 1000 W. No need for grid modifications, equipped with its own energy storage module, capable of smoothing peak loads. Compatible with 99 of electric vehicle interfaces, plug and charge, fully charging a Tesla in 10 minutes. As a seasoned player in the new energy sector, she understood better than anyone what this technological document signified. It heralded the end of two long-standing pain points plaguing the electric vehicle industry: range anxiety and charging anxiety. Once this charging station is deployed nationwide, the electric vehicle market in Longwo will undoubtedly experience an unprecedented explosive growth. And those who possess this core technology will emerge as the unrivaled leaders in this energy revolution. Jiang Chimo looked up at the calm man on the screen. What kind of monster are you? Monster? Yi Bai chuckled lightly. I am merely an ordinary entrepreneur wishing to make a modest contribution to the nation's new energy endeavors. This seemingly humble statement elicited an eye roll from Jiang Chimo, yet her excitement remained undiminished. She finally grasped the entirety of Yi Bai's strategic vision. With the superconducting charging station as the vanguard, they would rapidly seize the market and construct a nationwide energy network. This would not only generate substantial shock value and cash flow for him, but also pave the way for the subsequent launch of Thunder electric vehicles. This is an ambitious and intricately connected grand plan. I understand. Jiang Chimo's mind raced as she embraced her role. This technology must not follow the old path of financing. Its strategic significance is immense. Once external capital is introduced, it will inevitably face numerous constraints. We must retain complete control over it. Precisely, Yi Bai nodded in approval. That is why I sought you out. All right. Jiang Chumo immediately began meticulously planning. In terms of production, the core module technology of the charging station is highly advanced. It must be manufactured in our own factory to ensure the technology remains undisclosed. I can promptly mobilize a precision electronic device production line from Huadu for modification. As for the casing and wiring, those non-core components can be outsourced to other manufacturers. The primary challenge remains implementation. Her brow furrowed as she pointed out the critical obstacles. To deploy charging stations nationwide, we must engage with hundreds, if not thousands, of municipal, power, and transportation departments, applying for various permits and licenses. This process will be exceedingly lengthy and complex. Yi Bai had already devised a strategy. We must select a city as a pilot project, crafting a flawless model to compel other cities to seek our collaboration. The capital? Jiang Chumo's eyes lit up as she instantly understood Yi Bai's intent. As the capital, it possesses unparalleled benchmark effects. Once the superconducting charging station succeeds in the pilot project there, it would equate to obtaining the most authoritative official endorsement, thus facilitating nationwide promotion with unstoppable momentum. However, implementing a pilot in the capital may present even greater challenges than elsewhere. Jiang Chumo expressed her concerns. That will depend on the sincerity we demonstrate, Yi Bai replied confidently. Our first batch of pilot projects will not aim for profit, but market penetration. We will provide all charging stations free of charge to the municipal departments for installation. All charging services during the promotional period will also be completely free. Free. Jiang Chumo was once again astonished by Yi Bai's audacity. This is essentially burning money. How will we recoup the initial investment? The goal is stable long-term returns. Yi Bai insisted resolutely. Once everyone becomes accustomed to our charging network and our standards become the industry's sole benchmark, we will be the architects of the rules. At that point, we will dictate our own profitability. By employing a strategy of offering free services to aggressively capture the market and thoroughly monopolize it, they would later realize profits through value-added services and platform effects. This classic internet strategy, applied to the realm of manufacturing, revealed the magnitude of Yi Bai's ambition. I understand. Jiang Chumo was entirely captivated by Yi Bai's determination. Let us proceed with this plan. The two swiftly finalized all details. After hanging up, Yi Bai wasted no time and directly dialed Secretary Dekang's phone. Hello, Secretary Dekang. I apologize for intruding once again. Ha ha, Comrade Yi Bai. You are a rare guest. Please, do share. Came the enthusiastic laughter from the other end. Here's the thing, Secretary. I have recently developed a new type of electric vehicle charging station with exceptional performance. I would like to establish a pilot project in our Jinghai district, offering a batch for free installation. I wonder if you would be interested? A free pilot? Secretary Dekang was momentarily taken aback, then quickly delighted. What grand scheme are you concocting this time? This is fantastic. On behalf of the million electric vehicle owners in Jinghai district, I extend a warm welcome. He paused, his tone shifting to one of seriousness. However, while welcome gestures are appreciated, it is imperative to understand the product. After all, as a public facility connected to the urban power grid, safety is paramount. Rest assured, Leaf Bai confidently asserted. Here's the plan. In 3 days, I will conduct a sample test at my factory and invite you to experience it firsthand. Sounds good. Secretary Dekang readily agreed, curiosity evident in his tone. Coincidentally, I am currently driving an electric vehicle. I must thoroughly test your charging station to see just how remarkable it truly is. After concluding the call with Secretary Dekang, Leaf Bai immediately immersed himself in the production of the Tian Shu charging station prototype. He first returned to the central control room, habitually glancing at the system panel in his mind. Chungying Drone A, reverse analysis progress, 60. The light blue progress bar had advanced significantly. This pace far exceeded Leaf Bai's expectations. Subsequently, he refocused on reality, mobilizing the resources of his high-tech factory to transform blueprints into tangible reality. The winding of superconducting coils, the encapsulation of energy storage modules, the programming of intelligent control chips. Each intricate process unfolded systematically under the dexterous manipulation of numerous precision robotic arms. In just 3 days, a prototype of the futuristic Tian Shu charging station was officially completed. 3 days later, a blue Dami SU-7 silently glided into the courtyard of the high-tech factory. The car door opened, and Secretary Dekang stepped out, his face brimming with anticipation. Meanwhile, Leaf Bai had already set up the live streaming equipment, preparing to unveil this revolutionary test to the public. Hello, dear friends. Good morning to you all. Your beloved Leaf God is back with something extraordinary. As the live stream began, Countless fans who had been waiting eagerly flooded in, the screen inundated with a barrage of comments. Wow! Finally, the broadcast has started. What is Leaf God up to today? Look at the title. A charging station? Is Leaf God venturing into infrastructure? Wait, the secretary has arrived. And there's a blue Dami SU7. Chapter 336. 13 minutes to full charge, truly terrifying. Ignoring the playful banter in the comments. Leaf directed the camera towards today's protagonist, the Tian Shu charging station. It did not resemble the traditional bulky and cumbersome charging stations. On the contrary, its design was exquisitely minimalistic, even somewhat compact. The entire device was a silver-gray cube, approximately 1 meter on each side, gleaming with a metallic sheen, resembling a futuristic magic cube. One side of the box extended a robust, woven black cable, the end of which featured an ingeniously designed universal interface compatible with all charging protocols available on the market. Rather than a public charging station, it appeared more akin to an oversized portable power bank that could be carried alongside the vehicle. Secretary, what is the battery capacity of your Dami SU7? Leaf inquired with a smile. Approaching the vehicle, Secretary DeKong glanced at his beloved car and proudly stated, I have the top configuration, with a battery pack of 101 kilowatt hours. Typically, when using public fast charging stations, I can charge to about 80 in an hour, but the remaining 20 takes significantly longer, often requiring nearly 2 additional hours to reach full capacity. If I charge at home using a slow charger, it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. This statement encapsulated the common pain points shared by all electric vehicle owners. All right, Leaf nodded, picking up the universal interface to showcase it to the camera before stepping forward to effortlessly connect it to the charging port of the Dami SU7. A soft beep indicated a successful connection. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment of witnessing a miracle is upon us. Leaf gently tapped the touchscreen of the Tian Shu charging station, initiating the charging process. A barely audible hum of electric current filled the air. Immediately, a scene unfolded that left millions of viewers in the live stream and Secretary DeKong present at the scene utterly astonished. The percentage indicator on the central screen of the Dami SU7 began to rise at a visibly rapid pace the moment charging commenced. When Secretary DeKong's vehicle arrived, it had only 20 battery remaining. The charging began. 21, 22, 23. The numbers surged, nearly escalating by 1 every 5 seconds. Silence. The world seemed to have been paused. The barrage of comments in the live stream faded away as everyone stared wide-eyed at the ever-increasing number on the screen, their minds blank. Is this charging? This is clearly akin to using a high-pressure water gun to fill a fuel tank. No, it's even faster than that. Report. The charging power has stabilized at 980 W. A nearby technician responsible for recording the data exclaimed, his voice sharp with astonishment. Secretary DeKong dashed to the vehicle, pressing his face against the central screen. Mesmerized by the rapidly fluctuating number, utterly transfixed. In just 3 minutes, the battery surged from 20 to 60. At 6 minutes and 40 seconds, or 400 seconds later, the battery level firmly reached 80. The most astonishing aspect was that the trickle charging phase, often criticized by all vehicle owners, simply did not exist when faced with the Tian Shu charging station. 81, 82. Although the speed slightly slowed, it still maintained a staggering efficiency of approximately 1% increase every 20 seconds. Ultimately, when the battery displayed 100, the entire process had taken less than 800 seconds. In essence, that equated to a mere 13 minutes. In the time it takes to enjoy a cup of coffee, a flagship electric vehicle with a 101 kilowatt-hour battery was fully charged from a low of 20. As the number on the screen finally settled at 100, the world seemed to be enveloped in a spell of silence lasting several seconds. In the live stream, the once torrential barrage of comments vanished without a trace. At the scene, Secretary DeKong stood frozen beside the vehicle, his mouth agape, large enough to fit an egg, his eyes filled with boundless shock. 13 minutes. From 20 to 100. This figure obliterated everyone's preconceived notions of what charging entails. After a long pause, the previously silent live stream erupted like a volcano, inundated with a tsunami of comments. Wow, wow, wow. What on earth did I just witness? It must be an illusion. 13 minutes to charge a 101 kilowatt-hour vehicle? Leaf God, is this what you call a charging station? This is clearly a direct connection to a high-voltage power line feeding into the battery. Absurd. This is utterly outrageous. My phone's fast charging doesn't even compare. At this rate, I can charge my car while using the restroom at a service station? Farewell, range anxiety. Farewell, charging queues. From this day forth, the only flaw of electric vehicles has been entirely erased by Leaf God. You're thinking too small. This is not merely addressing shortcomings. It's practically driving fuel vehicles to extinction. Gas stations could easily be transformed into charging stations. 5 minutes to refuel. 10 minutes to charge. Who would buy a gasoline car? Secretary DeKong finally emerged from the overwhelming shock, trembling as he reached out to caress his vehicle, now fully charged, and glanced at the unassuming silver-gray charging station beside him. He felt as though his worldview had been repeatedly crushed and reshaped within those brief 13 minutes. Leaf Buy, he turned to Leaf Buy, his voice somewhat unsteady. If this technology can truly be promoted, it would be a monumental achievement for this generation, benefiting countless future generations. However, just as everyone was swept up in the frenzy over this miraculous speed, a few skeptical voices began to emerge in the live broadcast. What is the point of fast charging? It could be phantom electricity. It might run out after just a few kilometers. Exactly. Many fast chargers yield unreliable power. The range is often exaggerated. I suspect this is no different. In the face of such doubts, Yi Bai merely smiled calmly. If it were indeed phantom electricity, wouldn't a test drive reveal the truth? He opened the car door, settled into the driver's seat, and turned to the still-dazed Secretary DeKong, saying, "Secretary, hop in. Let me show you what true electric power feels like." With that, he pressed the accelerator to the floor, with a sharp whir of the electric motor. The Blue to Me SU-7 shot forward like an arrow, vanishing at the factory's end, leaving behind only a fleeting blue silhouette. For the next hour, Yi Bai streamed live, racing this vehicle freely on the ring road of the capital. The range displayed on the central control screen diminished steadily and linearly, without any signs of a catastrophic battery drain. Facts speak louder than words. Yet, despite this, some persistent skeptics in the live chat remained unconvinced. It must be a setup. This car and driver were arranged in advance. If you're so confident, find a random car to test. I refuse to believe any car can be this fast. Reading these comments, Yi Bai felt no anger. Instead, he was amused. All right, let us satisfy your curiosity. He drove the car back to the factory and addressed the camera, saying, "Now, I'll be right here. Friends near the capital, if your electric vehicle is running low, drive over. I'll charge it for free. Let us see if this is all just an act." Upon hearing this, the chat erupted. Within half an hour, a white Tesla Model 3, bearing a local license plate, and with only 5 charge remaining, hesitantly pulled into the Black Technology factory. Before millions of viewers across the nation, Yi Bai charged the Model 3 to full capacity in just 10 minutes. The owner exited the vehicle, speechless with excitement, and upon pressing the accelerator, experienced the same powerful thrust as when the battery was full, with no hint of degradation. With the first successful case established, more and more electric vehicle owners flocked in like sharks sensing blood. One brand after another lined up at the Tianshu charging station, quickly getting their fill of power in about 10 minutes before departing, fully charged and satisfied. The entrance of the Black Technology factory soon formed a long queue, reminiscent of the bustling ticket rush during the Spring Festival. Nevertheless, a few stubborn netizens insisted that it was all staged, with actors planted in advance. Just as Yi Bai was about to conclude this already astonishing live broadcast, the convoy encountered an unexpected scene on their way back. Under an overpass ahead, a black domestic electric vehicle was flashing its hazard lights, parked at the roadside. A young male driver and a traffic officer were struggling together, pushing the car with considerable effort, appearing quite beleaguered. Clearly, this was yet another unfortunate soul stranded due to a depleted battery. Witnessing this scene, Yi Bai's smile grew broader. He instructed the driver to stop and turned to Secretary DeKong with amusement, saying, "Look, the best actors have just arrived." With that, he opened the car door and walked directly towards the stranded vehicle, much to the puzzlement of the live audience and Secretary DeKong. The young driver and the officer were evidently exhausted, resting with their hands on their knees, panting heavily. "Do you need assistance?" Yi Bai asked with a smile. The officer looked up, momentarily stunned before recognizing Yi Bai, his face displaying a mix of surprise and admiration. "It's Comrade Yi Bai. This car has run out of power, and we were just about to push it to the emergency stop area." Wow, a divine encounter. The tech guru meets the unfortunate electric vehicle owner. This is hilarious. The most renowned tech blogger encounters the most unfortunate electric vehicle driver. "Yi Bai, do you need power?" "Driver, power? What power? The electric kind? No power?" Yi Bai's smile widened even more. "Perfect timing. I have power right here." He returned to his vehicle and, under the watchful eyes of countless viewers, retrieved the impressive Tianshu from the trunk. The young driver and the officer were left dumbfounded upon seeing this. The chat exploded with excitement. Here it comes. The classic moment. Yi Bai's Black Technology is about to shine again. I can already picture the driver's bewildered expression. He must be thinking, why is this guy bringing down a safe? Driver. Sir, I just ran out of battery, not out of money. You don't need to give me charity. Is this a power bank? The young driver asked, voicing the collective curiosity of the audience. You could say that. Yi Bai replied with a smile, then surveyed his surroundings and pointed to a nearby small store with its lights on. Could you please ask the shop owner if I could borrow an outlet? I'll cover the electricity costs. The officer, albeit puzzled, nodded and hurried over. Soon, with the officer's assistance, the shop owner brought out a long extension cord. Yi Bai casually handed over 100 yuan. Then, connecting the Tian shoe, he inserted the charging plug into the black domestic electric vehicle's charging port before the astonished gaze of the driver, the officer, and millions of viewers. With a soft hum, the once lifeless vehicle's central control screen sprang to life. The battery percentage, starting from 0, began to climb at a pace that astonished everyone present. 15. 10. Here it comes. That familiar surge. It never gets old. The driver is utterly dumbfounded. Look at his expression. His mouth is agape, as if he could fit a light bulb in it. The officer is questioning his own understanding of life. He must be wondering if charging technology has become this magical. The young driver's eyes nearly bulged out in disbelief, fixated on the screen, his mouth agape, utterly stunned as if struck by lightning. He had driven electric vehicles for 2 or 3 years and had never witnessed, nor even imagined, charging could be this rapid. Within 15 minutes, as the screen clearly displayed 100, the young driver was so overwhelmed with gratitude, he nearly knelt before Yi Bai. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've saved my life. He gripped Yi Bai's hand tightly, stumbling over his words. I just came back from visiting my parents in the countryside, and there were no charging stations along the way. I thought I could make it to the city, but alas, I can't thank you enough. You've resolved my urgent dilemma. Yi Bai patted his shoulder, smiling and replying, no problem. It was merely a small effort. He then shifted the conversation, addressing both the driver and the millions of viewers, presenting a vision of an even more shocking future. And rest assured, before long, charging stations like these will be ubiquitous in every corner of the nation, whether in bustling metropolises or remote towns. The worry of charging will be a thing of the past. Chapter 338, The Future City, Xiongwan. Moved to tears. Yishun, you are indeed the savior of electric vehicle owners. Nationwide rollout. Yishun is formidable. No more worries about long-distance breakdowns. Hearing this, the young car owner was flushed with excitement. Is that true? That would be wonderful. If such a day comes, I will be the first to support it. I will trade in my gasoline car and buy an electric vehicle. Following this remarkable public road test, the majority of skepticism in the live stream vanished. However, the internet is never short of obstinate naysayers. It's all staged. Absolutely staged. This car owner and the traffic police are actors. I don't believe it. The script's traces are too obvious. Exactly. What a coincidence that the breakdown happened right in front of Yishun's convoy. Who are they trying to fool? Watching these stubborn comments, Yi Bai was thoroughly amused. It was futile to reason with these individuals. They needed to be confronted with irrefutable facts that would leave them speechless. Fine, since you wish to see, I shall oblige. Yi Bai swept his gaze across the live stream, a playful smile curling at the corners of his mouth. I am now publicly recruiting a chief endurance tester for all to see. I will provide the vehicle, the charging stations, and cover all expenses. Your task is to drive the car and conduct a 24-hour uninterrupted live stream. When the battery depletes, charge it at my station. And then let the viewers nationwide see just how far a full charge can take you. Wow, is this for real? A 24-hour live test. Haha. Yishun is determined to take on the naysayers head-on. I love it. Choose me. Choose me. Yishun, I have 10 years of driving experience, no bad habits, good stamina, and can stay awake all night. I am definitely the best candidate. I am signing up. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to experience Yishun's black technology for free. Yi Bai observed the rapidly invigorated comments and added one final remark. I am eager to see what you will say when the facts are laid bare. Yi Bai's audacious online recruitment was akin to a deep-water bomb, instantly unleashing a tidal wave across the live stream and the entire internet. A 24-hour uninterrupted live test. This was no mere product demonstration. It was a bold revelation of his core technology, laid bare under the scrutiny of the entire nation. Such confidence, such audacity, was unprecedented. Wow, Yishun is serious. He is ready to confront the naysayers head-on. Impressive. This is the kind of confidence that top-tier technology should embody. Unlike some car companies that boast daily but falter during tests. I'm signing up. I have an A driver's license, 20 years of driving experience. And I guarantee I won't sleep for 24 hours, providing you with clear data. Don't steal my spot. I am a professional automotive journalist. I should conduct the most authoritative test. In no time, countless netizens and automotive bloggers clamored to become this highly coveted chief endurance tester. Although the tester had yet to be finalized, Yi Bai's resolute stance, akin to self-justification, had already convinced the majority of those who were previously skeptical. The online sentiment shifted dramatically. Those who once doubted the authenticity of the electric vehicle's performance had vanished without a trace. In their place, floods of support from netizens across the country emerged. Shanghai releases, look at Yixin's technology. Hurry up and implement it. Guangdong Province releases, Secretary, Governor, don't sleep. Get up and seize this project. If we don't act fast, our electric vehicles in the Greater Bay Area will be the laughingstock of neighboring provinces. Sichuan releases. We have many mountain roads. The electric vehicle's endurance falters here, and we need these charging stations desperately. Please arrange it. In a moment. The call for Yes charging stations echoed across major social media platforms. Countless netizens fervently urged their local leaders to expedite the introduction of this groundbreaking project capable of altering the fate of electric vehicles in their provinces. Meanwhile, the secretary, who had spent an entire day experiencing the revitalized Dami SU7, finally returned to the Black Technology Factory with Yi Bai. Upon stepping out of the car, the secretary's face still bore the remnants of overwhelming excitement. As a seasoned electric vehicle user, he had rigorously tested the charging station's performance throughout the day under the most demanding and realistic driving conditions. Whether it was the energy consumption during high-speed cruising or in congested city traffic, the results mirrored his usual fully charged experiences. Robust, stable, no phantom electricity. Comrade Yi Bai, I am impressed. The secretary approached Yi Bai, shaking his hand firmly, his eyes filled with genuine admiration. Today, you have once again shown me what true black technology looks like. This technology is extraordinary. It has the potential to transform our nation's energy landscape. He took a deep breath and, with an undeniable decisiveness, proclaimed, we will be the first to pilot this in the Jinghai district. Tomorrow, I will convene a meeting with all relevant department heads in the district, ensuring a smooth process to support the deployment of your charging stations in Jinghai district. With the secretary's commitment, Yi Bai felt a surge of joy within. Securing Jinghai district as a model was already half the battle won. However, the secretary's next words opened a door to even broader horizons. However, Comrade Yi Bai, the Jinghai district is merely a starting point. Your technology deserves a grander and more symbolically significant platform. He looked at Yi Bai and slowly uttered a name. I am referring to a place called Xiongwan. Xiongwan. Yi Bai was momentarily taken aback, as the name was somewhat unfamiliar. Not that it was entirely unknown. It had simply faded from prominence in recent years. A few years back, this name was renowned, a darling of the media, consistently making headlines with any minor development. The secretary nodded, a glimmer of yearning in his eyes. Yes, Xiongwan. It is not an ordinary city. It is a true city of the future, a technological hub that our nation has poured countless resources into, investing billions to create from scratch. It gathers our nation's most outstanding tech enterprises, possesses the most advanced intelligent infrastructure, and embodies all our visions for a future city. Your Tianshu charging station is a perfect match for its essence. If you can establish your technology as the cornerstone of energy in that future city, then what you will gain will not merely be commercial success, but also an honor that will be recorded in history. Chapter 339, Electric Vehicle Company Stock Surge. Yet they disrespect Yi Bai? Listening to the secretary's description, Yi Bai felt a storm brewing within. Xiongwan, a future city crafted with immense national investment, a technological marvel. Although he resided in the imperial capital, he had devoted most of his energy to developing his black technology, remaining largely oblivious to much of the external information. At this moment, thanks to the secretary's insights, he suddenly grasped the immense and unimaginable opportunity that lay behind this. This was no longer a simple commercial promotion. It was, in fact, a VIP ticket to the fast track of the future, personally extended by the nation. The technology of the Tianshu charging station was undoubtedly groundbreaking. Yet, regardless of how remarkable the technology, it required an equally impressive stage to unleash its full potential. And Xiongwan, a city imbued with themes of the future and technology since its inception, was undoubtedly the most perfect stage. If the Tianshu charging station can become the energy infrastructure of this future metropolis, then what it brings will extend far beyond mere commercial success. It will stand as a benchmark, a paragon, a case study etched in textbooks. The brand effect, political prestige, and immeasurable strategic value it generates are beyond the reach of any monetary evaluation. More importantly, for him, It represents a shortcut to resolving his family's debt crisis. Once he boards the colossal vessel of Xiongguan, he will gain unimaginable resource allocation and policy support, leading to a geometric increase in his financial success. Thank you, Secretary. Yi Bai gazed at Secretary De Kang, his eyes brimming with gratitude. De Kang's support transcended ordinary business collaboration. It was a genuine act of upliftment and goodwill. There's no need for formality between us, Secretary De Kang said with a smile, patting Yi Bai's shoulder. Your talent deserves a broader stage. Go forth. Let the world witness the strength of our nation's technology. After bidding farewell to Secretary De Kang, Yi Bai returned to school, his heart racing with excitement. He could hardly wait to delve deeper into the mysteries of Xiongguan, the city of the future. However, upon opening the webpage, he was immediately engulfed by a deluge of pop-ups and trending topics that captured his full attention. Almost every website, social media platform, and short video site bore the indelible mark of his live stream about the charging station. Yishun Charging Station fully charges the Dami SU7 in 13 minutes. The ultimate solution to range anxiety. Yi-Tech redefines charging. Highway rescue. Yishun's mobile charging station performs extreme rescues. Each striking headline, coupled with that astonishing charging video, quickly spiraled into a widespread online sensation within mere hours. The view count soared into the billions, and related discussions spread like wildfire, igniting every corner of the internet. While he had been conversing with Secretary De Kang, Yi Bai had not noticed the system in his mind. He quickly checked it. 12 billion. Yi Bai stared at the astronomical figure displayed on the system panel, completely astounded. He had not expected that a single live test of the charging station would yield a shock value surpassing any previous military product tests, even eclipsing that harrowing earthquake rescue. However, he quickly grasped the reason. While military technology is advanced and awe-inspiring, it remains distant from the everyday lives of ordinary people. In contrast, the seemingly unremarkable charging station struck at the heart of the ultimate pain points for tens of millions, even billions, of electric vehicle users and potential buyers. Such disruptive technology, intimately connected to everyone's lives, is what evokes the broadest and most profound resonance, thus generating the greatest impact. And this storm was far from over. Soon, another related trending topic surged to the forefront even more rapidly. Yi's charging station ignites the stock market. Multiple automotive companies' stocks hit the ceiling. Yi Bai clicked on the trending topic and read the news reporting that this afternoon, after the market opened, stocks of several new energy vehicle companies, led by Dami Automotive, Taiji La, and BYD, skyrocketed as if propelled by a rocket. Within half an hour of opening, they all hit the limit. Countless shareholders and investors were caught in a frenzy. Below the news, a well-known financial commentator analyzed. The collective surge in the new energy sector today fundamentally stems from the emergence of Yi's charging station. It undeniably addresses the long-standing shortfall of energy anxiety plaguing the electric vehicle industry. It was foreseeable that in the future, the market penetration of electric vehicles would significantly increase, thereby enlarging the entire industry's pie. This was an epic boon for all electric vehicle enterprises. As he observed the analysis from financial commentators, Yi Bai merely smiled faintly. The acumen of capital is eternally sharp. From the moment the Tianshu charging station made its debut, a monumental transformation sweeping across the global automotive industry had already commenced. And he was the sole orchestrator of this transformation. However, just as he prepared to close the webpage and calmly strategize his next move, his phone on the desk began to ring incessantly without warning. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number. Yi Bai frowned slightly and answered, "Hello? Hello? Is this Mr. Yi Bai?" A man's voice, filled with excitement and eagerness, even tinged with a hint of cautious flattery, came through. "Mr. Yi, our CEO Lei has watched your live stream today and is extremely interested in your charging station technology. We would like to discuss a deep cooperation with you. We are open to any terms." Before Yi Bai could respond, the call waiting beep sounded urgently, indicating another incoming call. He hung up on the Demi group and answered the next call, which was a heavily accented Mandarin, clearly a translation. "Hello, is this Mr. Yi? I am the Vice President of Taiji Law for the Dragon Kingdom. Mr. Elon has asked me to extend the most sincere invitation to you. We wish to procure your charging station technology. Price is not an issue. Alternatively, we could explore deeper cooperation methods, such as equity swaps." Soon after, a third and fourth call followed in rapid succession, like a tidal wave, leaving him no chance to breathe. Simultaneously, his phone's text message and email notifications began to bombard him relentlessly. Ding! A text from the chairman of BYD appeared. "Mr. Yi, it is a pleasure to write to you. I am Wang Fu, Your charging station technology is astonishing, far beyond our reach. I hope to meet with you to discuss the rise of our national brand. Ding. An email from the CEO of Waylon Automotive arrived. Its subject line boldly proclaiming, in tribute to the great pioneer of technology, Waylon Automotive seeks to establish comprehensive strategic cooperation with Mr. Yi. Ding, ding, ding. Almost every notable new energy vehicle company in the country was racing to establish contact with him through various channels, presenting increasingly enticing offers and adopting increasingly humble postures. Yet, in the face of this overwhelming adulation, capable of driving any entrepreneur into a frenzy, Yi Bai displayed no hint of joy. On the contrary, his expression darkened gradually, his eyes glinting with a chilling intensity, for he realized a profoundly serious issue. His personal phone number and email address were among his most private information, known only to a select few close individuals. Yet now, these automotive giants seemed to possess an uncanny ability to bombard him with a saturation of information simultaneously. What did this indicate? It revealed that his personal information had been compromised. Moreover, this was not a simple individual act, but rather an organized, large-scale theft of information conducted through illicit means. These seemingly glamorous and ethical business moguls were resorting to such despicable tactics to pry into his privacy in their race for advantage. An intense fury surged from the depths of Yi Bai's heart. Bang! Yi Bai's gaze turned icy, and he disregarded the incessant influx of calls and messages. Promptly pressing the power button on his phone, the screen dimmed instantly, and the world fell into a profound silence. Seeking collaboration? Certainly, but in this manner. Do not blame me for denying you even a seat at the table. After shutting off his phone, the fury within Yi Bai remained unquenched. Given the influence of those business tycoons, merely turning off his phone could not avert their harassment. Thus, he resolutely drove back to the Black Technology Factory. However, as his vehicle slowly entered the factory gates, the scene before him darkened his expression to its utmost severity. In the once empty courtyard of the factory, several brand new, expensive-looking commercial vehicles had inexplicably appeared. The exteriors bore prominent logos of prominent brands such as Rice Motors, Tequila, and BYD. Surrounding the vehicles were a dozen sharply dressed men and women, appearing astute and capable, anxiously gathering in small groups. They had audaciously found their way to his factory's doorstep. Yi Bai inhaled deeply, suppressing his displeasure, and stepped out of the car with an impassive demeanor. Upon his arrival, the group seemed to have found their savior. Immediately converging around him, Mr. Yi. Hello. I am the director from Rice Group. We are delighted to finally meet you. Mr. Yi, I am from BYD. And our chairman, Wang, has instructed me to express our sincerity for collaboration in person. In a flurry of titles, greetings, and business cards, they presented themselves like a flurry of snowflakes. Among them stood a tall, blonde, and blue-eyed woman, whose striking appearance and fluent Mandarin made her particularly conspicuous. Dressed in an exquisite business suit, she adorned a standard professional smile and politely inclined her head towards Yi Bai. Good evening, Mr. Yi. I am Anna, the business director for Tequila in the Dragon Kingdom. I sincerely apologize on behalf of my company for the disturbances during your phone call. She began with a courteous apology, but her tone shifted subtly, revealing an inherent arrogance characteristic of employees from the world's top enterprises. However, I believe that as a mature and visionary entrepreneur, you would not decline the opportunity to collaborate with a global Fortune 500 leader in the new energy vehicle sector, would you? Her words were polite, yet laced with a condescending superiority, as if partnering with Tequila was a privilege for Yi Bai. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai's previously somber expression suddenly transformed into a smile. He found amusement in the self-assured woman before him and intriguingly retorted, Miss Anna, allow me to pose a question. Does this Black Technology Factory of mine not qualify as a business? Anna paused, instinctively nodding. Of course it does. And I, Yi Bai, as the owner of this factory, can I not be considered the boss? Certainly, you are. Anna maintained her graceful smile, though a flicker of confusion entered her eyes. Excellent. Yi Bai nodded, his smile vanishing in an instant, replaced by an icy demeanor that exuded the absolute authority of a superior. My company may not yet be among the global Fortune 500, but here, my identity is that of the boss. His gaze pierced through Anna's eyes like a sharpened blade. And you, Miss Anna, regardless of your high position at Tequila, to me, you are merely an employee of another company seeking collaboration. Are you instructing me on how to conduct business? Yi Bai's voice was soft, yet reverberated like thunder in the silent courtyard. The terrifying aura he emitted was unrestrained at that moment. Yi Bai had interacted with numerous high-ranking officials from the Dragon Kingdom, and his commanding presence was indeed formidable. Anna's smile froze instantaneously. A chill, born from the depths of her soul, enveloped her, rendering her breathless. The representatives from other automotive companies were equally subdued by Yi Bai's sudden and terrifying aura, rendered speechless and hesitant to utter a word. Amidst the suffocating silence, Yi Bai surveyed the assembly with a deliberate gaze. I do not care how you obtained my personal information and located my factory. I am here to declare one thing. Everyone present, without exception, every enterprise you represent, I, Yi Bai, shall never choose to collaborate with. His words struck the hearts of all present like a thunderclap. Never collaborate. Everyone was taken aback, their faces reflecting disbelief. They had anticipated Yi Bai might negotiate or impose demanding conditions. However, they never imagined he would so decisively reject their overtures, casting them all out. Anna, the business director from Tequila, turned pale, her once confident visage now marred by shock. She had never anticipated that her esteemed identity and corporate affiliation would be the very reasons for her dismissal in Yi Bai's eyes. After a brief, stunned silence, Director Wang from Rice Group was the first to react, hastily stepping forward to explain, Mr. Yi, you misunderstand. We harbor no ill intentions. We are simply eager to collaborate with you. Please do not let Miss Anna's attitude overshadow our collective sincerity. Indeed, Mr. Yi, chimed Li Ming from Baiwei, his face adorned with a sycophantic smile. We genuinely wish to collaborate with you and create a glorious national brand. Please, do not let this matter deter you. The crowd clamored, attempting to salvage the catastrophic situation. In their view, Yi Bai's decision was exceedingly immature, although Anna's demeanor was somewhat arrogant. To reject the opportunity for collaboration with the world's leading new energy vehicle company, and to dismiss all top domestic enterprises in one fell swoop, was seen as impetuous and a grave error in the business realm. They couldn't help but quietly criticize Yi Bai. He was ultimately too young, possessing extraordinary technology, yet lacking an understanding of the commercial maxim that civility breeds prosperity and that profit reigns supreme. Such impetuousness would surely hinder his progress in the harsh business world, even if he currently basked in glory. Nonetheless, Yi Bai regarded them with an unyielding gaze, devoid of any wavering. I shall not repeat myself. He turned away, ignoring the gathering, and strode towards the interior of the factory. At that moment, several security personnel, who had been standing guard at the factory entrance, approached. These individuals were active duty soldiers dispatched from the Eastern Theater, specifically tasked with safeguarding the security of the Black Technology Factory, given the multitude of confidential matters involved. The leading officer stepped before the persistent executives, expressionless, extending his hand in a gesture of dismissal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a military key protection unit. Mr. Yi does not wish to meet with you. Please leave immediately. The air grew heavy with an ironclad aura born from the crucible of battle, enveloping the courtyard. The executives, who typically commanded power in the business realm, felt their legs weaken in the face of this chilling presence, devoid of the courage to utter another word. They have only just come to realize that this seemingly ordinary factory harbors a far more terrifying energy than they had ever imagined. Not daring to linger any longer, they scurried into their vehicles like frightened strays, awkwardly departing from the Black Technology Factory. Notably absent from this group of ejected individuals was the presence of another domestic tech giant, Huawei, who seemed to have never engaged in this competition from the outset. Observing the flurry of business cars hastily leaving, Yi Bai's eyes flashed with disdain. To those seasoned merchants, his actions today might appear juvenile and impulsive. But so what? Yi Bai has never been merely a businessman. He possesses the power to alter the world and follows only his own heart. Those who align with him shall prosper. Those who oppose him shall perish. To think they could bind him with mundane, sordid commercial rules? Such notions are simply folly. As night deepened, it became evident that this would be an insomniac night for both the Dragon Kingdom and the global new energy vehicle industry. Yi Bai's declaration of eternal non-cooperation swiftly reverberated back to the headquarters of major automotive giants through various channels. At the headquarters of the Rice Group, President Lei listened in silence to Director Wang's unwilling report over the phone. Unlike Director Wang, who lamented Yi Bai's youthful impetuosity or expressed anger over his perceived arrogance, President Lei pondered deeply. Old Wang, do you truly believe that Yi Bai's decision was solely influenced by Anna's stance? He suddenly inquired. Director Wang was taken aback, instinctively responding. Isn't that the case? He erupted, his presence formidable. No, President Lei shook his head. A person capable of developing such revolutionary technology cannot possess such a narrow mindset. He seeks to establish his authority and delineate his own rules. He is informing us all that if we wish to engage with him, we must adhere to his regulations. Any attempts to probe his limits through underhanded tactics will be summarily dismissed. Leaning back in his chair, he exhaled slowly. This individual is far more troublesome than we anticipated. Then what shall we do now, President Lei? Director Wang cautiously inquired. Let us observe the situation, President Lei replied calmly. Since he has rejected everyone, it indicates that he currently desires no collaborations. Our objective should not be to provoke him, but to wait. When he seeks partners, we shall approach him with the utmost sincerity. At the headquarters of the Wadey Group, Chairman Wang Fu slammed his hand on the table after hearing the report, infuriated. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. He shouted at Li Ming on the other end of the line. We, Wadey, sell millions of electric vehicles annually. We possess the largest user base in the country. Our 3 electric technologies have been developed step by ourselves. We are seeking collaboration with the greatest sincerity to create a glorious national brand. What right does he have to refuse us? Chairman, please calm down, came the reply. Calm down. How can I calm down? Wang Fu paced restlessly in his office, visibly agitated. This charging pile technology is crucial for us. It can transform our substantial user base into an impenetrable fortress. We must secure this collaboration at any cost. He halted, his gaze resolute. Continue to monitor the situation. Use all means possible to find someone who can communicate with him. I refuse to believe he can turn down millions of our Wadey users. Chapter 342. The overhauled armed helicopter, the Sky Reaper. At Tesla's North American headquarters, in a luxurious office, Musk listened to Anna's report with a hint of disdain. A smile on his face reminiscent of a cat toying with a mouse. Oh, a young technological prodigy from the Dragon Kingdom has rejected our olive branch? How amusing. Sir, I have failed, and I am willing to accept any punishment from the company. Anna's voice trembled with fear. No, Anna, you have done nothing wrong, Musk replied leisurely. The mistake lies with him. This unfortunate young man seems yet to comprehend the formidable power of financial weaponry from Wall Street. A small, unlisted enterprise. A genius untouched by the harshness of society. He is far too fragile. Relay my orders, Musk commanded into the air. Utilize all our resources, supply chains, raw materials, and public opinion, to impose sanctions on him and his company from all angles. I intend to make his path impassable, to bring all his projects to a standstill, and to let him experience what true despair feels like. When he finds himself at a dead end, he will surely come to us, weeping and kneeling, seeking our cooperation. At Huawei Group's Songjiang base, in a modest office, General Ren quietly absorbed the entire report from his subordinate regarding the Yi family charging pile incident, including the details of Yi Bai's refusal of all automotive collaborations. His expression remained impassive. After a long silence, he finally spoke. Understood. The group's strategy remains unchanged. We shall continue to increase our investment in the development of our proprietary technologies and persist on our own path. No matter how excellent another's technology may be, it ultimately belongs to them. Only by firmly grasping our core technologies can we avoid being choked by others. With that, he waved his hand, signaling his subordinate to leave. Follow your own path, and leave others without a way out. That is Huawei's way of survival. With the unwelcome guests dispersed, the Black Technology Factory returned to its former tranquility. Yi Bai paid no heed to the external tumult. Certainly, he was aware that from the moment he rejected all automotive collaborations, a covert struggle surrounding the Tian Shu charging pile had already begun to unfold beneath the surface. Yet, this was of no concern to him. His immediate focus was on 2 tasks. First, to expedite the pilot project of the Tian Shu charging pile. Second, to fulfill the promise he made to the Eastern Theater Command. Xiao Ling, Yi Bai called for Sun Ling, handing her a freshly drafted document. This is our preliminary cooperation plan with Jinghai District. As my personal assistant, contact Secretary De Kang's secretary immediately to follow up on all subsequent matters and ensure the project is advanced as swiftly as possible. Understood, brother. Sun Ling received the document, nodding vigorously before turning to execute the task. With the charging pile arrangements in place, Yi Bai could finally focus his entire attention on the military project that presented a considerable challenge to him, the modification of the Wuji 10 helicopter. He entered the central control room, retrieving the original design blueprints and all performance parameters of the Wuji 10. Blue Guangxi demanded an overwhelming firepower advantage against enemy ground forces. The term overwhelming implies absolute, unreasonable domination. To achieve this, the modified Wuji 10 must possess a significant advantage in firepower, range, and survivability over all existing ground anti-aircraft weapons. Yi Bai's mind raced as countless weapon modification proposals generated and simulated within the system, only to be methodically dismissed one by one. Initially, he envisioned a path of extreme firepower. For instance, installing two large-caliber Gatling gun modules on either side of the fuselage and mounting a rapid-fire howitzer module to achieve a barrage akin to the rate of fire of a Gatling gun. However, this plan was swiftly rejected. To sustain rapid fire from the howitzer, an immense amount of ammunition would be required. The artillery's size and weight are indeed considerable. Excessive ammunition severely encroaches upon the aircraft's space, increasing its weight and consequently sacrificing the helicopter's maneuverability and range. If a barrage of fire is unfeasible, one must pursue precision strikes and dimensional reduction tactics. Yi Bai's gaze swiftly traversed the weapon technology tree within the system, ultimately focusing on two modules emanating an ethereal blue glow, the electromagnetic cannon technology and high-energy laser technology. First, he decided to retain the original cannon beneath the cockpit as a conventional suppression fire source. Next, he resolved to dismantle the existing missile racks on both sides of the fuselage, replacing them with two extraordinarily lightweight and compact airborne electromagnetic cannons. These cannons, which typically require a colossal base and complex energy systems for support, were ingeniously integrated into the helicopter structure through advanced technological innovations. This electromagnetic cannon would not fire conventional shells, but rather specially designed tungsten core armor-piercing projectiles equipped with stabilizing wings at their rear. With an astonishing muzzle velocity of up to 8 Mach, it could accurately penetrate the frontal armor of any main battle tank from several kilometers away. Having secured a long-range precision tool, he also required close-range clearing capabilities. Yi Bai abandoned the cumbersome artillery and turned his attention to a more compact and efficient laser weapon. He envisioned installing a 360-degree rotating spherical turret beneath the helicopter's belly. Within this turret would not be a machine gun, but a high-energy, pulsed laser cannon. This laser cannon would emit a high-density energy beam, only the size of a coin and invisible to the naked eye. Though it may not penetrate thick armor like the electromagnetic cannon, its unparalleled rate of fire and precision would allow it to instantaneously incinerate enemy infantry's man-portable air defense missile guidance systems, incapacitate armored vehicle sighting systems, or even precisely detonate enemy munitions. The electromagnetic cannon would be responsible for long-range sniping of high-value targets, while the laser cannon would handle close-range neutralization of all air defense threats. This combination of weaponry would render any ground forces before it akin to lambs awaiting slaughter. This is the true embodiment of an overwhelming advantage. System. Proceed with this modification plan. Yi Bai issued the final command. Ding. Detected that the host is undertaking an extremely high-difficulty weapon module modification, requiring a massive consumption of shock value. Do you confirm? Confirm. Modification plan confirmed. Proceeding with modular integration, electromagnetic cannon module loading, high-energy laser cannon module loading, energy system transformation in progress. Ding. This modification consumed a total of 80 million shock value points. As he watched his shock value balance diminish significantly, Yi Bai felt not sorrow, but rather an overwhelming anticipation. A true harbinger of death from the skies was about to be born in his hands. In Chapter 343, isn't this merely a slaughter? With the plan set, Yi Bai began his preparations. The modification of weapons of such caliber, like the electromagnetic cannon and laser cannon, far exceeded the capabilities of his own factory. He would require the assistance of national-level military manufacturing. Without hesitation, he contacted the Northern Military Factory through a secure line. This facility is renowned as the pinnacle of aircraft manufacturing and development in the Dragon Kingdom. When Yi Bai transmitted the seemingly fantastical modification proposal to the computer of Chief Designer Academician Li Weiguo at the Northern Military Factory via the encrypted channel, the Elder, who devoted his life to the aviation industry of the Dragon Kingdom, remained speechless for a full 3 minutes. Comrade Yi, Academician Li adjusted his reading glasses. Gazing at the screen displaying the sci-fi illuminated 3D model, his voice wavering slightly. Are you certain this modification pertains to an armed helicopter and not the design of an interstellar warship? The young researchers behind him stared at the design blueprint in awe, as if witnessing a divine being, gasping collectively. An airborne electromagnetic cannon? To fit that behemoth, which requires an enhanced company to service, into the body of the Wuji 10? How could energy miniaturization and heat dissipation be achieved? And this pulse laser cannon? My heavens! The power density, the cooling system. It's practically extraterrestrial technology. My goodness. If this can indeed be manufactured and deployed on the battlefield, can we still call it combat? Wouldn't that simply be a one-sided massacre? Doubt, astonishment, and incredulity filled the research center at the Northern Military Factory. However, When Yi Bai shared some key technical parameters of the core modules for the electromagnetic cannon and laser cannon with them, the entire research center plunged into a profound silence. All skepticism was obliterated by the era-defying, paradigm-shattering data presented before them. In its place shone a fervent, almost reverent light in the eyes of the researchers. Commence work. Academician Li slammed his hand on the table, the septuagenarian's face flushed with excitement, as if rejuvenated by 20 years. All personnel, cancel leave. Activate the highest level of emergency response. We at the Northern Military Factory, even if we must exhaust all our resources, will bring this harbinger of death from the skies to fruition. With Yi Bai's core technological support and the Northern Military Factory's unrestrained investment, miracles unfolded once more. In just 3 days and nights, a menacingly transformed armed helicopter, nearly a complete metamorphosis from the original Wuji 10, quietly awaited in the hangar. Wuji 10 modification, Phantom. On the day of completion, the Eastern Theater Command dispatched several large transport aircraft to carefully transport this Phantom along with Yi Bai himself to the headquarters base located on the coast of the East China Sea. As Yi Bai disembarked from the military aircraft, Blue Guangxi had long awaited with a cadre of generals on the tarmac. Major Yi, you have finally arrived. Blue Guangxi rushed forward, clasping Yi Bai's hand tightly. Brigadier Blue, I have not disappointed you. Yi Bai nodded with a smile. Blue Guangxi's gaze transcended Yi Bai. Fixating on the Phantom armed helicopter being gently unloaded from the transport plane, his eyes instantly ablaze with fervor. Major Yi, we are all eager to witness your grand creation firsthand. However, the commander's staff has an additional idea. Oh, what idea? Blue Guangxi chuckled. The Navy has been boasting endlessly about their anti-submarine Eagle's anti-ship capabilities, believing that our Army aviation can only engage tanks from the sky. Hence, we wish to organize a competition. We will pit your Phantom against their most advanced anti-submarine helicopter. We have even procured a decommissioned 051 class destroyer from the Navy as a target. We want to see whether their anti-ship Eagle, laden with missiles, can sink the warship first, or if your Phantom can dismantle it first. Upon hearing Blue Guangxi's arrangement, Yi Bai felt a surge of intense interest. Anti-submarine Eagle versus Phantom. Deep-sea torpedoes versus electromagnetic cannon. This truly promised to be a captivating duel. Under Blue Guangxi's guidance, Yi Bai boarded the command ship heading towards the maritime target range. As the command ship slowly sailed out of the military port and into the boundless azure sea, a steel behemoth quietly anchored on the distant waters came into view. Its gray hull, marred by patches of rust, still bore witness to its former glory through the towering bridge, numerous radar antennas, and dark cannon muzzles. This marked Yi Bai's first occasion witnessing a genuine warship up close. Although Lan Guangxi remarked that this was merely a decommissioned, old-fashioned destroyer with a displacement of just over 3,000 tons, in Yi Bai's eyes, it remained an undeniable behemoth. The immense weight, forged from countless steel, gun barrels, and intricate machinery, was unparalleled by any mechanism he had encountered before. Whether it be a 100-ton truck on land or an SMPT flatbed used for transporting reaction towers, they appeared diminutive, akin to toys, in comparison to this steel leviathan. Standing on the deck of the command ship, with the biting sea breeze caressing his face, Yi Bai felt an overwhelming surge of emotions, impossible to quell. He couldn't help but envision that if a 3,000-ton destroyer could evoke such a powerful visual impact, then what would a colossal aircraft carrier, weighing in at hundreds of thousands of tons and resembling a floating city, be like? Indeed, ships embody the ultimate romance for every man. A profound yearning welled up within Yi Bai. He aspired to modify a vessel, to craft a true maritime sovereign that belonged entirely to him. That would be the pinnacle of the journey of transformation and enhancement. Yet, just as he was swept away by this grand ambition, instinctively wanting to scan the target ship, a notification chimed. Ding. A-level vehicle detected. Type 051 destroyer. A-level permissions? Yi Bai's heart sank. He had not anticipated that even the most antiquated and unimpressive 3,000-ton destroyer would demand such high scanning and modification permissions. Instantly, he regained his composure. Indeed, one must take things step by step, savoring each bite of the journey. Until he possessed sufficient authority and strength, he would need to start modestly, beginning with the modification of aircraft, accumulating experience and impact value one step at a time. Chapter 344, The Phantom Attack Helicopter, terrifying indeed. At this moment, the atmosphere aboard the command ship was already electric. Today, the audience observing the test was not limited to the leaders of the Eastern Theater Command. Almost all brigade and division commanders from the main combat divisions under the command of the theater, who could spare the time, had crowded onto this command vessel. One might think an operation against the enemy was imminent. On the deck and within the bridge, stars of command sparkled amidst the throngs of officers. Notably, the generals from the Army and Navy were distinctly divided into two camps, each filled with a lively spirit. A brigade commander from a certain heavy combined arms brigade in the Army, gazing at the distant Type 051 destroyer designated as the target, could not resist making a snide remark to a naval destroyer task force commander nearby. "I say, old Zhang, your navy is quite extravagant. To discard such a large warship as if it were nothing, dragging it out merely to serve as target practice. Unlike us in the Army, who are so financially strapped that we must calculate every shell when practicing." The naval commander surnamed Zhang instantly bristled at this comment, his eyes widening as he retorted, "Hey, old Li, such words are ungrateful. What do you mean we are extravagant? It's true that our navy has been producing ships at an astonishing rate. But do you have any idea the pressures we face? The first island chain, the second island chain, each is fraught with peril. We are safeguarding the nation's frontiers." After a brief pause, he shifted his tone to counterattack. "Besides, if you say the Army is poor, then we in the Navy must be beggars. Recently, whose main battle tank was wreaking havoc on the training grounds. You are now using such land cruisers. What more do you desire?" This statement ignited a chorus of protests among the surrounding Army generals. "But that is different. The Thunder Prison is a special creation of Major Yi. And we only have a few of them in our entire corps, treated like precious gems. We hardly dare to use them in training. Indeed, unlike your Navy, with new aircraft carriers rolling out one after another, and destroyers being produced like they cost nothing, we in the Army are envious. You have deep-sea fire starters. We in the Army long for our own little boy for the plains. When will Major Yi provide us with something substantial to play with?" A group of generals, typically solemn and dignified, were now bantering like children engaged in a friendly competition, exchanging jibes and teasing one another, creating a scene of great merriment. Lan Guangji observed this lively tableau, bemused. Of course, no one was genuinely complaining or envious. This was merely a unique way for soldiers to express camaraderie. After all, whether it be the Army's tanks or the Navy's ships, they all served a singular purpose: to protect the homeland. Seeing the equipment of their brother service growing increasingly advanced and formidable, despite their playful jabs, everyone felt a sense of joy within. Perhaps even more so than they let on. Just as the teasing continued, an unexpected phenomenon unfolded in the distant sky. It began. A voice called out, and the cacophony aboard the command ship fell silent in an instant. All eyes turned toward the horizon, where sea met sky. A submarine hunting eagle swooped down from the clouds, diving straight for the Type 051 destroyer designated as the target. Hovering at a safe distance of about 10 kilometers from the target ship, the eagle suspended in midair, its weapon bay doors slowly opening to reveal four gleaming heavy anti-submarine torpedoes, glinting coldly in the light. Torpedo attack preparation. Target locked. Launch. Accompanied by the pilot's calm command. Two torpedoes shot forth like cannonballs, their rear propellers igniting instantly, piercing through the tumultuous sea with a sharp whine. The command ship's large screen immediately switched to the torpedo's underwater perspective. The two torpedoes carved out two distinct white trails beneath the surface, hurtling toward the stationary destroyer at a terrifying speed of over 50 knots. They continuously adjusted their course using their onboard active sonar. Boom, boom. Almost simultaneously, two profoundly thunderous roars erupted from beneath the surface. Immediately, two colossal columns of water, towering several dozen meters high and mingled with black smoke and shattered steel, shot skyward near the destroyer's waterline. The entire vessel trembled violently from the sheer force of the explosion, even lifting it momentarily from the sea. A stunned silence enveloped the command ship. Everyone was awestruck by the spectacle. Yi Bai, witnessing the devastating power of the heavy torpedoes designed specifically for hunting submarines for the first time, was equally filled with astonishment. The warhead of these torpedoes contained hundreds of kilograms of high-energy explosives, and the shockwave and cavitation effect generated by the underwater detonation inflicted structural damage on the ship far beyond that of conventional shells and missiles. Truly, this was the ultimate weapon designed for submarine warfare. If unleashed on land, it could obliterate not just main battle tanks, but even a small fortified position in a single strike. However, before anyone could fully comprehend the magnitude of the torpedo's power, a more terrifying harbinger of doom appeared in the sky. The Phantom attack helicopter, like a ghost, silently emerged on the opposite side of the target ship. It did not perform the complex maneuvers of the Eagle, but merely hovered in place, aligning its side with the now slowly tilting target ship. In the next moment, A nearly imperceptible, slender tracery flashed from beneath the Phantom's wing. There were no earth-shattering explosions, nor were there immense columns of water shooting up. All that could be heard was a soft whoosh. Soon after, at the bridge of the destroyer, a circular aperture, approximately half a meter in diameter and with edges as smooth as if cut by a laser, abruptly manifested. This gaping hole pierced through the thick steel plating of the bridge, entering from one side and emerging from the other, leaving a transparent cavity. Silence reigned, an eerie stillness enveloping the command ship. Everyone aboard seemed like ducks with their necks grasped, eyes wide and mouths agape, yet no sound escaped. What kind of weapon is this? Is this truly the firepower of modern weaponry? Before they could gather their wits, the Ghost helicopter subtly adjusted its angle. With a swift whoosh, 3 blazing traces of light erupted from the electromagnetic cannon beneath its wings, each projectile a tungsten core armor-piercing round, hurtling towards the destroyer's turret, radar, and missile launchers at a terrifying speed of 8 Mach. The once formidable turret armor crumbled before this overwhelming kinetic force, pierced as if it were mere paper. The towering radar antenna was severed in two. The missile launchers were ruthlessly torn apart, reduced to a heap of twisted scrap metal. In mere moments, this once proud maritime beast was utterly dismembered, transformed into a pockmarked hulk of steel. On the command ship, after a brief period of stupor, the army generals erupted in a cacophony of ecstatic cheers. My heavens! Oh dear mother! Is this the power of the Ghost? A flying nuclear bomb. This is nothing less than a flying nuclear device. A walking harbinger of doom. With such a marvel, who would dare engage our army in ground warfare? No matter how many tanks they send, they would merely serve as live targets. Their eyes glimmered with an unprecedented fervor as they gazed upon the hovering Ghost. Conversely, the Navy's generals appeared utterly stunned. Witnessing the disassembled destroyer, their faces drained of color, a singular thought consumed them. This thing is utterly monstrous. If utilized for coastal defense against those attempting to infiltrate with speedboats and small vessels, it would be invincible. Even deploying it on the decks of large vessels for counterterrorism or anti-piracy missions would wield immense deterrence and efficacy. This cannot stand. The Army must possess this, and the Navy must have it as well. The previously harmonious atmosphere aboard the command ship shattered instantaneously. No sooner had the testing concluded than a throng of Army and Navy generals, akin to ravenous wolves, encircled him, leaving no escape. Major Yi, God Yi, Lord of Wealth Yi. The first to surge forward was the previously envious Army Brigade commander. His face bore an eager and sycophantic smile as he grasped Yi Bai's hand, exclaiming with fervor, "We in the Army demand this Ghost. It must be urgently integrated into our aviation units. Our Army has substantial needs." Another Army division commander elbowed his way forward, gesticulating with fervor. "We have so many Army groups, so many brigades. If each brigade were to be equipped with several of these, just imagine the combat prowess. Unimaginable. Indeed, our Army's orders will maximize your technological value." However, before their words could settle, the Navy's Captain Zhang elbowed his way in, dismissing the Army generals with a wave, asserting, "Away with you. You Army folks merely play house in your training grounds. Such a magnificent weapon in your hands would be a gross misuse." Turning to Yi Bai, he donned what he believed to be a sincere smile. "Major Yi, join our Navy. Here, we have the true battlefield for the Ghost. We confront genuine enemies, armed with real weapons. Only in actual combat can we gauge a weapon's true worth. Only through real conflict can we procure the most invaluable data to continuously refine and enhance your creations. Our Navy can offer you the most authentic battlefield experience." The deck erupted into chaos once more. The Army emphasized its demand for quantity, while the Navy touted its capability for practical combat, each side steadfast in their claims, vying to claim Yi Bai for their own. Observing these generals, typically so imposing, now squabbling like market vendors, Yi Bai felt a surge of exasperation. "Stop! Everyone halt!" Raising his voice, he finally commanded silence. Smiling with resignation, he uttered words that left everyone momentarily speechless. "Esteemed leaders, there is no need to quarrel. Children make choices. Yi Bai desire them all. The technology of the Ghost has matured and can certainly be mass-produced. Whether it be the Army or the Navy, I can provide for any demand." However, his tone shifted as he turned to Captain Zhang. "I am particularly intrigued by what Captain Zhang mentioned earlier. I wish to first see how the Navy intends to engage in real combat." Upon hearing this, the Navy's generals felt a surge of excitement. An opportunity had arisen. Captain Zhang's eyes sparkled with a brilliant idea as he leaned towards Yi Bai, speaking in hushed tones. "Major Yi, regarding real combat, there is indeed a timely opportunity. As you know, recently in the South China Sea, The Philippine Coast Guard vessels have been behaving brazenly, relying on their backing to intrude upon our reefs and harass our fishermen. Quite despicable. If we were to deploy our main combat vessels, it could escalate matters unnecessarily. But what if we were to integrate this ghost into the Coast Guard's operational sequence? His enthusiasm grew as he elaborated. You see, the Coast Guard's mission is law enforcement at sea, not military action. We could approach in the Ghost and claim it as our latest law enforcement helicopter. If they dare disregard our warnings and continue to provoke, we could use the electromagnetic cannon to open a few portals in their hulls, and with the laser cannon, legally incinerate their radar antennas. Quite reasonable, wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't that equate to real combat? With that suggestion, the Army generals immediately voiced their objections. I oppose. The first to leap forward was Commander Lee. Isn't this blatantly stealing our Army's equipment? Moreover, this is intended for the Coast Guard, not for you Navy. Even if you seize it, it would be futile, especially since the Coast Guard utilizes your retired equipment. Commander Lee, that is quite erroneous. Captain Zhang swiftly retorted, wearing a knowing smile. We can certainly navigate a process. We could first retire this ghost from the Army aviation units, and then reintegrate it into the Coast Guard's equipment sequence for this law enforcement mission. A transition from active duty to retirement. Once the mission is accomplished and sufficient data collected, we can gracefully retire it from the Coast Guard and reintroduce it to your Army's embrace. You see, this entire process is entirely reasonable and lawful. No one could find fault with it. This audacious proposition left all present in stunned silence. Transitioning from active to retired, then back to service. What an impressive maneuver. Yi Bai couldn't help but chuckle, realizing that these generals were willing to stretch the meaning of flexibility to its limits in their quest for superior equipment. Nonetheless, this proposal resonated perfectly with his own desires. There is nothing more effective in testing the performance of weaponry than a genuine, globally scrutinized combat scenario that delivers immense shock value. The script involving the Phantom enforcing regulations in the South China Sea is one that he finds particularly appealing. All right, we shall proceed as Captain Zhang suggested, Yi Bai declared, smiling at a group of naval commanders. I eagerly anticipate witnessing the operational effectiveness of the Phantom. This first prototype shall be entrusted to your Navy for testing. Excellent. Major Yi exuded confidence. Rest assured, we will deliver the most impressive enforcement footage. The naval officers were instantly overjoyed, their faces lighting up as they envisioned the Philippine Coast Guard vessels being thoroughly overwhelmed under the might of the Phantom's electromagnetic cannon. In stark contrast, the Army generals appeared dejected, akin to defeated roosters, resigned to watching the opportunity slip through their grasp and into the Navy's hands. At that moment, Lan Guangji, who had been mostly silent, stepped forward and pulled Yi Bai aside. Brother Yi, I accept that the Navy has beaten us to the Phantom. However, we in the Army cannot continue to be at a disadvantage. We wish to place another order. Another order? Yi Bai was taken aback. Since when did the Army become so flush with cash? He pondered this, then shifted his tone, somewhat bashfully rubbing his hands together. Placing an order is certainly feasible. But before we do so, should we not settle the outstanding balance from the last transaction with Thunder Prison? Lan Guangji chuckled at this, assuring him, no problem, Major Yi. I will have the finance department transfer the remaining 300 million to your company's account immediately. With that, Yi Bai inquired about Lan Guangji's subsequent plans. This time, we wish to place a substantial order of 500 million. We would like you to assist the Army in modifying a rocket artillery vehicle. A rocket artillery vehicle? Yi Bai was somewhat surprised. While such a weapon boasts considerable power, its accuracy is lacking, and it seemingly has little room for modification. However, Lan Guangji's next words made him gasp in astonishment. Indeed, a rocket artillery vehicle. Lan Guangji's eyes gleamed with an almost obsessive fervor. I have but one requirement. The rockets it launches must be capable of devastating naval vessels. Moreover, this weapon must belong solely to our Army. Its launch platform should be a truck, not a warship or a fixed launch pad. This way, it will be classified within our Army's equipment, and neither the Navy nor the adjacent rocket forces shall dare to compete with us. The audacity of the Army's desire to target naval ships with their rocket artillery left Yi Bai utterly stunned. The complexity of such a task was immense. Firstly, accurately striking a warship moving at high speeds thousands of kilometers away requires an exceedingly sophisticated guidance system, perhaps even satellite support, encroaching upon the domain of the rocket forces. Secondly, conventional rocket warheads are ineffective against the robust hulls of naval vessels. To achieve a decisive hit, specialized warheads with exceptional penetration and destructive capabilities would be necessary. Most critically, integrating all of this into a truck while maintaining tactical mobility poses an extraordinary challenge. This was no mere weapon modification. It was an endeavor to usurp the roles of the Navy and the rocket forces under the banner of the Army. Observing Lan Guangji's fervent visage, which seemed to proclaim the Army's supremacy, left Yi Bai feeling a profound headache. Nonetheless, he took a deep breath and looked at Lan Guangji. While the difficulty is considerable, it is not insurmountable. I accept the challenge. After finalizing the audacious 500 million order with Lan Guangji, Yi Bai boarded a private plane back to the capital. Meanwhile, Captain Zhang, who had successfully claimed the inaugural rights to the Phantom, treated the aircraft as if it were a rare treasure, personally leading the team to escort the embodiment of death in the skies back to the Eastern Theater's Naval Aviation Base. Throughout the journey, Captain Zhang's enthusiasm was palpable.